joystick and moved the scissors inside the claw machine. When he felt the timing was right, he pressed the button. As the scissors reached the string, he instantly released the button. Swish! The blade precisely cut the string, but the Lego set Zhang Wei wanted didn't fall. The string wasn't cut through. Damn! Why didn't it cut? It clearly hit the string. Zhang Wei was so angry he nearly jumped up. He had been staring at the scissors inside the claw machine the whole time. The blade clearly hit the string. It's normal, the blade just isn't that sharp. A few more times should do it. Lin Fan calmly inserted another 3 tokens. The same thing happened again. The scissors precisely hit the string. Then with a clang, the Lego set hanging in the air by the string fell down. Holy SHT! Awesome! Lin Fan, you are fucking amazing! Zhang Wei shouted, quickly squatted down, and took the prize out of the chute. Zhang Wei held the Lego set in one hand and the girl figurine in the other, blushing like crazy. Godfather! I want to learn how to catch prizes too! Zhang Wei looked at Lin Fan with pleading eyes, almost ready to kneel. This can't really be taught. You need good eyesight and quick reflexes. You either have it or you don't. Lin Fan spread his hands. Unable to learn the skill, Zhang Wei was disappointed. But he still asked Lin Fan to help him catch several more figurines he wanted, and he smiled like he just ate sugar-covered poop. Lin Fan didn't refuse Zhang Wei's requests. Zhang Wei called him godfather, how could he say no to his godson? At 11:30, the 3 of them came out of the store loaded with prizes and went to a Hunan restaurant for lunch. Zhang Wei was from western Hunan. If the food wasn't spicy, he couldn't eat at all. Lin Fan. I'm willing to call you the god of claw machines. Your skill at playing them is insane. I calculated it carefully, no matter how hard the machine is, you always win within 5 tries. You could start buying from arcade owners and resell the stuff. Make $15 on each figurine, you could earn thousands a day. Zhang Wei was still excited. Forget it. I'm not that interested. Even if I made $1,500 a day, that's just $547,500 a year. And I'd have to hang around claw machines all day, too tiring. Lin Fan wasn't tempted at all. That credit card Li Sijuan gave him was still in his pocket. The limit was $500,000, meaning he basically had $500,000 a month in spending money. He didn't need to flip figurines for cash. Even if he did need money, he could just become a dimensional smuggler, bring top-tier works from his past life into this world. Wouldn't that make money faster than reselling claw machine prizes? Besides, he just wasn't short on money. Seeing Zhang Wei chatting non-stop with Lin Fan and ignoring her, Zhao Yajuan didn't dare feel the least bit jealous. A guy like Lin Fan, don't even talk about liking him, she didn't even dare imagine it. All she could do was admire him from afar. Because she knew she wasn't worthy. Even with someone as ordinary as Zhang Wei, she had to give everything she had just to earn up. Let's try. Lin Fan? Whether it was looks or talent, he outclassed Zhang Wei by a mile. She was just an average girl, barely earning over $1,500 a month. A guy like Lin Fan wasn't part of her world. Back in school, she still had some naive hopes. But after graduating and working, and failing at blind dates again and again, she'd become self-aware. The better the man, the less he belonged to people like her. During the meal, Lin Fan only ate some vegetables and a bit of beef. Even while eating, he rinsed the food in water to remove the oil. Since he had started dieting, he couldn't let anything interrupt it. Otherwise, putting it off again and again, he'd never lose weight. After lunch, Zhang Wei said he wanted to go back. Zhao Yajuan immediately offered to drive them back to school. Even though school was nearby, it was noon and the sun was blazing. Sitting in an air-conditioned car was obviously more comfortable. Lin Fan told them to go ahead, he still needed to buy a few changes of clothes. When Zhang Wei heard that, he immediately said he'd buy them. Lin Fan had helped him win so many prizes, it was only right for him to return the favor with some clothes. He just hoped Lin Fan would help him catch more figurines when he had time. Zhao Yajuan naturally tagged along. Lin Fan shopped fast. He walked into a sportswear store. Randomly picked 3 outfits with similar colors and styles, and bought 2 pairs of sneakers. Just a few sets to get by for now. Carrying too much would be a hassle, he'd buy more later when he had time. Zhang Wei was about to pay, but Zhao Yajuan stepped in and paid first. She had already said she would prove her sincerity to Zhang Wei. This was definitely not the time to let Zhang Wei spend money. Her money was Zhang Wei's money. If Zhang Wei wanted to spend, it should be her money he spent. Though the 3 outfits weren't cheap, over $400 total, as long as Zhang Wei saw her sincerity and eventually married her, it was worth it. Ding! Received a gift from Zhao Yajuan. Cashback crit triggered. Reward, Stamina Card X1. Hearing the voice in his mind, Lin Fan was a bit surprised. Zhao Yajuan paying for Zhang Wei, that counted as her giving him a gift? With previous experience using stat cards and knowing they caused no side effects, Lin Fan immediately used the stamina card. Previously, there was no stamina stat on his profile. But after using the card, the stamina stat appeared. Stamina, 80. So his previous stamina stat was 79. But Lin Fan was confused. Was his stamina really 79? This morning during the jog, he couldn't even finish 5 laps. He walked the 6th. Was that kind of stamina worth 79 points? Was stamina on a scale of 1000? Wait. Lin Fan suddenly thought of another possibility. This stamina, was it really that kind of stamina? After paying, Zhao Yajuan dragged Zhang Wei to buy him a new outfit too. After all, she was his blind date. Even if she paid for Zhang Wei, from a deeper logic point of view, she just bought clothes for Zhang Wei's friend. If she bought clothes for Zhang Wei's friend but not for Zhang Wei, what would he think? Would he think she was trying to hit on his friend? To avoid that misunderstanding, Zhao Yajuan insisted on buying an outfit for Zhang Wei too. Zhang Wei went into the fitting room. Zhao Yajuan. Zhao Yajuan heard Lin Fan call her name and quickly responded. To her, Lin Fan was untouchable. Facing him made her more nervous than the blind date itself. If you really want to marry Zhang Wei, then think carefully about the figurines he likes. Once you understand that, you're close to succeeding, Lin Fan said. At least she triggered a stat card for him, so this was his way of giving something back. Of course, if Zhao Yajuan didn't understand, then that was her problem. Zhao Yajuan looked totally confused. What did Lin Fan mean? What does he mean by think about the figurines Zhang Wei likes? After buying the clothes, Lin Fan and Zhang Wei finally rode back to school in Zhao Yajuan's $15,000 compact car. When the two of them left school that morning, they were empty-handed. Now both of them had their hands full. If they didn't ride, walking back would have been pretty exhausting. Downstairs at the dorm. As she watched Lin Fan and Zhang Wei walk inside, Zhao Yajuan was still thinking about what he had said in the store. What did he mean? Suddenly, a light bulb went off in her mind. No way? Zhao Yajuan had been thinking the whole way about what Lin Fan's words really meant. What did he mean by, think about the figurines Zhang Wei likes, if you figure it out, you'll succeed in marrying him? She thought about it all the way, but still didn't understand. But just now, a sudden realization hit her. A ridiculous idea popped into her head. The figurines Zhang Wei liked all seemed to share one trait, they all looked like young little girls. No way, right? No way? Could Zhang Wei actually be a psychological pervert who likes little Lolas? So the cold expression and indifferent attitude when they met today, was it because she dressed mature and sexy? If that's the case, then what was the point of all her effort for today's blind date? Did she basically ask for it? You know, just to make herself look more mature and sexy, she had spent over 2 hours doing makeup this morning. She even used tech gadgets to turn her flat chest into a big volcano. And now Lin Fan told her everything she did today was useless, or worse, counterproductive. Zhang Wei didn't like mature, sexy women at all. He liked those who looked young, flat-chested, and girlish. Zhao Yajuan felt like crying. You see, the reason all her previous 9 blind dates failed wasn't just because of her family background, her body shape also played a role. Every previous date said she was too short, too skinny, too flat, looked like a child, and didn't arouse any desire. This was her last arranged blind date. She really wanted to succeed just once. If this one didn't work out, her chances of getting married in this life would be extremely slim. So, she studied makeup seriously, got up early this morning, and spent over 2 hours making herself look mature. In the end, the guy she met for her final blind date actually liked her original type. And she had used makeup to change her entire style. She almost pushed her own fate away with her own hands. Luckily, Zhang Wei still agreed to try dating for a while based on her sincerity. Otherwise, she really would have cried to death. Now that she understood Lin Fan's hint, Zhao Yajuan immediately decided that the next time she went on a date with Zhang Wei, she would go with her original appearance. Then she'd see how Zhang Wei reacted. If Zhang Wei really did like short, young, skinny girls, then she owed Lin Fan a big thank you gift for the tip. Just as Lin Fan returned to the dorm, he received a message from Wang Sidian. Baby, the contract I mentioned earlier, my mom has already prepared it and had it sent over. Baby, are you free now? I'll bring it to you. Lin Fan thought for a second and replied. Take it to the library. I'll come over now. Female students weren't allowed into the male dorms. When they came during move-in, that was a special situation. Now that all the freshman boys had moved in, the dorm staff wouldn't let girls enter anymore. And he didn't want his woman going into the guys' dorm anyway. In the male dorms, guys were very casual, some just walked around in their underwear in the hallway. If Wang Xidian happened to see that, Lin Fan would feel seriously at a loss. Lin Fan stuffed the paper bags with the clothes and shoes into his locker, left the dorm, and headed for the library. The distance from his dorm to the library wasn't short, almost 1.2 miles. There were plenty of shared bikes and electric scooters on campus for students and staff. But Lin Fan didn't choose to ride. He chose to run there. He was currently trying to lose weight. If he could bike, he wouldn't take a scooter; if he could walk, he wouldn't bike. He always picked the method that used more energy. By the time he reached the library, his clothes were soaked with sweat. Wang Xidian had arrived earlier. When Lin Fan got there, she was waiting at the library entrance. Seeing Lin Fan running over, Wang Xidian rushed out under the scorching noon sun. "Oh baby, why did you run all the way here? It's so hot out at noon. What if your skin gets sunburned?" Wang Xidian grabbed Lin Fan's hand, her eyes full of concern. She was dropped off by her mom's secretary, but Lin Fan ran under the hot sun. Even if he was losing weight, did he have to torture himself like this? "I said I'm losing weight," Lin Fan said, panting. Running nearly 1.2 miles was like running 5 laps around the track. Add that to the 5 laps he ran in the morning, it was 10 laps in total. Not bad. Weight loss is just self-torture, after all. They entered the library together. At noon, the library wasn't crowded. They casually found an empty seat and sat side by side. Lin Fan took the contract and began reading it carefully. It's not right to have a harmful heart, but it's necessary to be cautious. Even though Wang Xidian was now his girlfriend, he still had to carefully read the contract. While Lin Fan was reading, Wang Xidian leaned tightly against him, her head resting on his shoulder. "I'm all sweaty. You don't mind?" "Not at all. Baby, your sweat even smells sweet." Wang Xidian wasn't bothered at all. She even leaned in and licked the sweat off his face. Lin Fan didn't know what to say. Sure, he didn't smell bad, but his sweat couldn't possibly smell sweet, right? He could only blame this on how crazy the girls in this world were. What he didn't know was, Wang Xidian wasn't just trying to make him feel better. She genuinely meant it. There are scientific studies that show, a person's genes choose who they're attracted to. Once your genes choose someone, you will find that person's scent to be fragrant. And that scent is undetectable to others. When Wang Xidian was near Lin Fan, she felt he smelled really good. Even after he just ran and was drenched in sweat, she still felt he smelled good. Since Wang Xidian wasn't bothered, Lin Fan just let it be and seriously read the contract. He wasn't a law student, but he could still tell if there were any unreasonable parts in the contract. After all, he was the runner-up or top scorer in the National College entrance exam. The contract Wang Xidian gave him wasn't complicated. It was very straightforward, without any messy or unclear clauses. It only listed the rights and responsibilities of both parties, just 3 pages in total. Not like some contracts, which could be 10 or even dozens of pages long. Lin Fan had practically no responsibilities. If he could keep creating hit songs, that'd be best. If not, the company would help him get songs. At a minimum, the company would release 1 album for him every year, hold 10 concerts, and book appearances on current popular variety shows. Of course, if he didn't want to, concerts and variety shows could all be skipped. The company would fully tailor a personal development plan based on his preferences. They were basically treating him like royalty. A $7 million minimum guarantee, 70% profit share, and barely any requirements. He'd be a fool not to sign that contract. Party A of the contract had already stamped it. Lin Fan filled in his personal information and signed his name as Party B, then pressed his fingerprint. With this, Lin Fan officially became a signed artist of Starshine Entertainment, and not just any artist, but their top-tier signed artist. The signed contract was taken away by the secretary of Wang Xidian's mother. After signing, the two of them didn't leave immediately, but stayed in the library, cuddling and chatting close together. Of course, they spoke very softly, moved just a little farther away, and you couldn't hear a word. Since it was only the start of freshman year and the upperclassmen hadn't returned yet, the library was very empty. They weren't bothering anyone. Of course, they didn't do anything too outrageous either. After all, this was a library, a public place. Even if there were few people, it wasn't completely empty. If it had been a hotel or someone's home, they'd probably have erupted already. Close to 2 p.m., the two finally left the library and headed to their respective military training grounds to start afternoon training. As soon as they gathered, the instructor walked up to Lin Fan. "Lin Fan, did you finish your business? Do you want to rest a bit?" Chenning asked with concern. Lin Fan wasn't like the other boys. On the first day of training yesterday, most of the boys had already applied early on to rest in the shade. The ones who held on longer only lasted maybe 1 or 2 hours. But Lin Fan? The entire first day, he trained alongside the girls and didn't rest once. With such a driven personality, taking a whole morning off today must have been for something very important. Maybe he wasn't physically tired, but he could be mentally exhausted. Although Lin Fan was back, she still hoped he would rest more. A boy's health was important. Instructor, I'm fine. I don't need rest, Lin Fan shook his head. His goal during this half-month military training was to lose at least 15 pounds. If he kept sitting out to rest, how would he lose weight? Well, if you feel tired or unwell, you must speak up, okay? Got it, instructor. Training resumed. Around 4 p.m., Lin Fan's class stopped to take a break. Lin Fan took out his phone to scroll through short videos to pass the time. As soon as he turned on the screen, he saw a message notification. He unlocked the phone. Royal Bank of the Daxia Empire. Your account ending in 9527 received a deposit on August 17 at 1624. Amount, 50 million renminbi. Current balance, 50,703,423 renminbi. Lin Fan stared at the deposit amount in the message and instinctively counted the zeros after the 7 zeros to the left of the decimal point. That's 50 million. The guaranteed salary of his SSS-level artist contract had been deposited. When they signed the contract in the library at noon, Wang Xidian had said the guaranteed annual salary would be deposited within 3 business days. But turns out, it didn't even take 3 days. They signed the contract at noon, and by afternoon, the money was already in his account. According to the contract, the 50 million was after-tax income, meaning Starshine Entertainment had already paid the taxes for him. If it turned out that taxes hadn't been paid, that wouldn't be his problem. The one evading taxes would be Starshine Entertainment. But then again, Starshine probably wouldn't do that. As the country's biggest entertainment company, they wouldn't risk it by committing tax fraud. Besides, the Daxia Empire enforces tax laws very strictly. If caught, you not only have to pay back taxes, but also a fine 10 times the evaded amount. In other words, if you evade 1 million in taxes, once discovered, you have to pay back the 1 million and also pay 10 million in fines. The Empire's tax department has its own enforcement force. In Daxia, almost no one dares evade taxes. Also, men enjoy a personal income tax reduction. No matter the income bracket, men get a 50% income tax deduction. Lin Fan's after-tax income was 50 million. At the normal tax rate, he should have paid 45% income tax. But since he's a man, he only needed to pay 22.5%. The contract only stated his guaranteed after-tax salary was 50 million. If Lin Fan had been a woman, Starshine would have had to pay over 34 million in taxes. But because he's a man and gets a 50% tax deduction, Starshine only needed to pay around 14 million to cover his taxes, ensuring he legally received 50 million. In other words, this saved them nearly 20 million. Starshine already got a great deal. If they still tried to evade taxes, that would really be outrageous. Lin Fan was now wondering what to do with the 50 million. Buying a house wasn't necessary. The Daxia Empire had already assigned him an apartment. Even if he didn't own it, once he got married, he'd have permanent residency rights. If the assigned apartment became uninhabitable for any reason, the Empire would reassign him another similar one. If he didn't want to live in the capital and wanted to move elsewhere, he could apply to swap his apartment for one in another city. So he had no need to buy a house. This was one of the social benefits men enjoyed in the Daxia Empire. As long as they hadn't lost their social welfare status, Daxia men never had to worry about not having a place to live. He didn't need to buy a car either. Li Cixi had just gifted him a Suchi, and it was still parked at home. He'd only driven it once, on pickup day. No car, no house, then what could he spend the 50 million on? Putting it in the bank to earn interest? That would be a waste. As Lin Fan was pondering, the girls in class suddenly started chanting, asking him to sing extra explanation again. They wanted to hear him sing once more. Lin Fan happened to be in a good mood and didn't want to disappoint them. He stood up, walked to an open area, and sang extra explanation again. Hearing Lin Fan sing again, students from nearby classes also stopped training and gathered around to listen to the live performance. When the song ended, enthusiastic applause and cheers erupted from all directions. So good! Lin Fan Gij, you sang amazing. Gij, I want to have your babies. Ah! My ears are pregnant. Lin Fan was still thinking about what to do with the 50 million when inspiration suddenly struck. Since he was in such a good mood, why not make everyone else happy too? Lin Fan raised both hands, then slowly pressed them downward. The scene quickly quieted down. Everyone! I'm feeling inspired today, so I wrote a new song. Want to hear it? Yes! The cheers erupted instantly. In that case, I'll sing it for everyone right here. Lin Fan took a moment to compose himself, then slowly opened his mouth. This song is called, If One Day I Become Very Rich. My first choice won't be to travel the world. Lie on the world's largest softest sofa. Eat, then sleep, wake up and eat for a year. Lin Fan had just started singing, and many of the girls blushed excitedly. No way. My husband's voice is just too beautiful. My ears are going to be pregnant. Brothers Adam's apple is so sexy, I want to touch it //. Pathetic, I don't only want to touch Brothers Adam's apple, I want to touch Brothers' collarbone, I also want to touch Brothers' trophy. The girls' voices were all very small, because they were afraid if their voices got loud, they would stop hearing Lin Fan's ear-pregnant voice. Lin Fan's singing continued. If one day I become very rich, I can keep everyone by my side. Every day happily eating, drinking, chatting. No need to worry about tomorrow or goodbyes. If one day I become very rich, I will use every possible way to reverse time. Not for human ideals to make contribution. Just want to say to her, I am very sorry. Husband sang my heart's voice, I also want to become very rich. I also want to become very rich, if I become very rich I might be able to marry brother. You all only heard, become very rich, did no one hear the brother's hurt in his heart? Reversing time, only wanting to say, I am very sorry, that damned woman who is she? How could she bear to hurt brother like this? I know. It must be that woman from brother's earlier song. She despised brother for not having money, then got together with another man. When brother found out she turned it around and accused brother of ghosting her sister. That woman really deserves to die. Brother is such a precious treasure boy, and she actually betrayed him. If it were me, even if given the throne I wouldn't trade. If I ever find out who that woman is, I will kill her, avenge brother. That's right. Someone dared to hurt the Lord husband, absolutely unforgivable. Soon, the song ended. From all directions warm applause erupted immediately. Husband I love you. Brother. Forget that woman. I don't care that you have no money, I'll earn money to support you. Husband I want to have your children. Have 100 children. Husband. Look at me. Look at me. Ah. I'm going to die. Brother smiled at me. Husband. Please check my academic degree. My credential has a lot of fluff. Lin Fan waved to the audience in all directions, then returned to the formation of their manga class 1. Sure enough, the hit song from his previous life was popular in this world too. The reason he chose that song was purely because of a flash of inspiration. Suddenly getting so much money, the lyric, if one day I become very rich, flashed in his mind. As for how to spend the 50 million, he had already thought of it. This world was too boring, he wanted to make it more interesting. The popular films of his previous life, the huge games of his previous life, he was going to transport them all over. Those Odom games, he really couldn't play. The girl who filmed Lin Fan singing yesterday, today filmed Lin Fan singing again and uploaded it to her Douyin account. After uploading Lin Fan's video yesterday, that girl gained hundreds of thousands of fans. Today's update immediately triggered many fans to get notifications and check it. When they heard Lin Fan sing, extra explanation, some netizens thought the uploader just re-uploaded yesterday's video. But soon someone noticed the time was wrong. The video time was more than double yesterday's. Immediately someone dragged the progress bar, then heard Lin Fan's second song. After hearing the second song, they replayed from the start again. So happy. Today I get to hear husband sing again. Woo-woo, husband truly is talented. Just one day and wrote another song. Husband fly with peace of mind. I, your concubine, will always follow. After training ended at night and showering in the dorm, Lin Fan lay in bed chatting with many girlfriends. He created a group chat and added all 5 sisters. First wife, Li see you baby. You wrote another new song today huh? My baby is too talented. Fourth wife, Li Siling husband when will you respond to that person's song //? Second wife, Li Si Jin 2 days time, Douyin fans already passed 5 million, truly the man I chose. Third wife, Li Si Shi happy ranking up. Fifth wife, Li Si Yao observing secretly. In idle chat, Lin Fan told his startup idea to Li Siling and the sisters. Lin Fan, #my wives, I want to start a game company, but we all have military training now and no time, can you help your husband run it? The 5 sisters are royalty, they helping run the company process would be fastest. Even Wang Xidian probably can't beat them in this. First wife, Li Si Yue? Baby you want to open a game company? Need money to spend? Fourth wife, Li Siling husband if you need money just tell us. Big successful games do make money, but many game companies lose everything too. Third wife, Li Sishi Lin Fan, you want to make games? What type? I can give some suggestions. Second wife, Li Sijin, only a freshman and already want to start business and make money? No wonder the man I chose. Fifth wife, Li Xiao, secretly observing. Lin Fan, it's not that I need money, but I suddenly got a lot of money and don't know where to spend it. Today I signed an SSS-level artist contract with Starshine Entertainment, 50 million guaranteed annual salary has already arrived. Such much money in bank earning interest is too wasteful, so I thought I'll do something. After thinking half a day, I decided to start business. Games now are all about swapping styles and talking about love. I'm preparing to develop games that are different. Whether it will lose money I don't care, worst case I just use up the 50 million. Even if I run out of money, don't I still have you wives? Fourth wife, Li Xiling, oh. Husband, how come you signed so fast? Husband, you should have had professionals check the contract for us. What if you got scammed? First wife, Li Xiyu, they dare. If they dare cheat our baby, then let their company collapse. Lin Fan, Aya, it's okay, the contract is very relaxed for me, almost no constraints. Third wife, Li Sishi Lin Fan, you want to make what type of game? Lin Fan, not sure yet, you guys help me build the company first. Once company is built, the type of game I will know. There were too many hit games from his previous life, he really didn't know which one to pick. First wife, Li Siyu, baby, have you thought of a company name? Lin Fan, just call it Different Dimension. He will bring all the hit games from his previous life over, so Different Dimension fits perfectly. Fourth wife, Li Xiling, husband, I want to share in your company too, I believe you will definitely succeed. The task of starting the company was handed over to Li Siyu and her 4 sisters. Lin Fan didn't have to worry about anything. Over the next few days, Lin Fan participated in military training with his classmates every day. Training in the morning, training in the afternoon, and training in the evening, his life became extremely disciplined. Lu Ruyan and Wang Xidian took turns bringing him breakfast. But he didn't eat much each day, just a carton of milk and 1 egg every morning. With the training, combined with his daily morning exercises and a controlled diet, small meals with low oil and low salt, his weight dropped a little bit every day. The 5 sisters worked very efficiently. In just 3 days, they selected the company address, got the business license, and purchased all the office equipment. They had already started recruiting employees. The company had a registered capital of $7.9 million, but the money didn't come from Lin Fan, it came from the 5 sisters. Each sister contributed $1.58 million, holding 4% of the shares each, totaling 20%. The remaining 80% of the shares were all under Lin Fan's name. This made Lin Fan feel a little embarrassed. It was like he just opened his mouth, and the 5 sisters put in the money and effort to build the company from scratch. Yet their shares were much less than his, even though he neither invested money nor contributed labor. Lin Fan was very certain that the games that were hugely popular in his previous life would definitely be popular in this world too. But the 5 sisters didn't know that. They didn't know Lin Fan had crossed over from a parallel world. Still, they chose to believe in Lin Fan, or perhaps, they were willing to give their full support without hesitation. This only strengthened Lin Fan's determination to marry all 5 sisters. Where else could he find such amazing wives? And since the 5 sisters provided both money and effort, while most of the shares were still under Lin Fan's name, this triggered rewards from the system. And it triggered 5 times. Each of the 5 sisters triggered it once. Ding! Received a gift from Li Siyu. Reward, Appearance Card 1. Ding! Reward, Physique Card 1. Ding! Reward, Strength Card 1. Ding! Reward, Skill Card, Guitar Mastery. Ding! Reward, Body Fine-Tuning Card 0.4 inches. Lin Fan used all the attribute cards. Appearance increased to 91, Strength increased to 72, and Physique increased to 76, each stat went up by 1. After using the skill card, his understanding of the guitar deepened. Originally, he could only play some simple songs, he was a beginner. Now, he could play many songs he couldn't before. As for the body fine-tuning card 0.4 inches, Lin Fan didn't know where to use it at first. After using it, a figure identical to his appearance appeared on the attribute panel. Any part of the figure could be adjusted. For example, height could be increased or decreased by 0.4 inches. Waist circumference could also be adjusted by 0.4 inches. Even finger length, earlobe length, nose bridge height, and hair length could all be modified. After thinking it over, Lin Fan decided to adjust his tail. Although his tail already exceeded the average by a lot, what guy could resist wrapping his tail around his waist like Sun Wukong? On the 21st, the 5 sisters brought the equity documents to the school to find Lin Fan and explained the upcoming work plans. There were still 10 days before they also started school, so they wouldn't have much time to manage the company. Therefore, they needed to hire a professional manager and heads for each department to manage the company. As for Lin Fan, he would only be responsible for the company's overall direction, everything else would be handled by others. Whenever they had time, the sisters would also visit the company, check on employee performance, and gain work experience. Lin Fan, of course, had no objections. That was exactly the model he had in mind. Even though he had countless treasures from his past life, he was only a college freshman. He couldn't just drop out and start a business. He just wanted to make this world more fun, not become a workaholic. His goal was to enjoy life, not make money. Before they left, Lin Fan handed over several game design proposals to the 5 sisters. They were all small-scale games from his past life: Plants vs. Zombies, Angry Birds, Fruit Ninja, Temple Run, and Machinarium. Although $7.9 million sounded like a lot, it wasn't much when it came to game development. The newly founded game company would start by making some hit casual games to gain experience and earn a bit of money. Once they had more funds, they could move on to developing bigger, more expensive titles. Like Assassin's Creed, Tomb Raider, Elden Ring, GTA, Black Myth, The Witcher, Call of Duty, Dungeon Fighter, Crossfire, Honor of Kings, Genshin Impact, Battle Royale games, and so on. Of course, he didn't have to copy games from his past life exactly, he could also create new themes. For example, the Tomb Raider-style games could be replaced with a Dacia-style tomb raiding series, but he would have to write a couple of tomb raiding novels first. The Assassin's Creed-style games could also be localized, as there were plenty of assassin organizations in ancient times. Once those AAA titles came out, gamers in this world would finally get a taste of the good stuff. In the next few days, Lin Fan continued to live a very disciplined life. Early morning workouts, daily training, and eating fat-loss meals every day. Meanwhile, the 5 sisters started recruiting for another dimension. From professional managers and department heads to concept artists, modelers, programmers, data analysts, all positions needed to be filled. As royal family members, the 5 sisters had amazing connections. Though they were still college students, their relatives worked in all kinds of industries. In just 5 days, the basic framework of the company was established. The game projects Lin Fan submitted were approved and had entered the development phase. As for Lin Fan, the real head of the company, he hadn't even visited it once. However, his game design documents were very detailed, and he even drew the concept art himself. Plus, the games weren't very big in scale, so even if he didn't show up, the teams probably wouldn't mess it up. That night, Lin Fan returned to the dorm and lay in bed, too excited to fall asleep. But it wasn't because the games had entered development, it was because the instructor announced that starting tomorrow, the training would include guns. Everyone would get a gun tomorrow, though without bullets. The instructor would first teach them the structure of firearms, how to disassemble, assemble, and maintain them, as well as shooting stances and techniques. After 2 or 3 days of practice, they would move on to live-fire training. Each person would get 5 rounds of ammo per day. This would continue until the end of the military training. In his previous life, Lin Fan never got to touch a gun. The previous class had live-fire training, but when it was his turn, it got cancelled. Now, in this life, his dream of touching a gun was finally coming true. Girls' dormitory. Zhonglei was also too excited to fall asleep, because she was a gun enthusiast too. When she was a kid, because her parents were busy with work, she would be sent to her grandparents' place in the countryside during winter and summer breaks. Her grandpa and 3 grandmas were all local hunters, and there were hunting rifles at home. Every time she went back, she would take the hunting rifles out to play. Her grandparents would also teach her how to use the guns. Later, when she got a bit older, they even took her into the mountains to hunt. You could say she grew up playing with guns. Unfortunately, after she turned 10, her grandparents passed away one after another. By the time she was 15, there were no more elders left in the countryside. And after entering high school, the academic pressure increased, and she had to attend various training programs during the holidays. So she only went back to her hometown briefly during Chinese New Year. After the grandparents with hunter licenses passed away, their rifles were taken away by the local Hunters Association. Among her aunt's generation of relatives, no one was a hunter anymore. After all, hunting didn't make much money in a year, and going into the mountains to hunt was often dangerous. So after she entered high school, even when she went back for New Year, she never got to touch a gun again. Now that military training allowed them to handle guns, she was naturally too excited to sleep. Ever since that day at the supermarket when she added Lin Fan on WeChat, she had been messaging him every night. Lin Fan would always reply to her. Although they hadn't interacted in person during the day since adding each other on WeChat, Zhong Lei wasn't bothered at all. Lin Fan replied to her messages every day. This meant Lin Fan must at least like her a little. Otherwise, there's no way he'd reply every single day. And back then when Lin Fan added her but didn't add her roommate Yang Xiaolu, that also proved Lin Fan liked her. He added her because he liked her. Otherwise, why would he only add her and not Yang Xiaolu? Zhong Lei had also seen the news about Lin Fan these past few days. Lin Fan's excellence made her even more thankful that she had been brave that day. If she hadn't dared to ask for Lin Fan's WeChat, she would never have had any connection with someone so outstanding. Starlight Entertainment had already announced that they signed an SSS-level artist contract with Lin Fan. It was said his guaranteed base annual salary alone was $7.9 million. That's a fortune she could never earn in her lifetime. And now, this outstanding male god was quietly lying in her friend list. Even if Lin Fan didn't talk to her, she'd still feel happy, let alone the fact that they chatted every day. Lin Fan's Douyin account already had over 10 million followers, but how many people had his WeChat? She had Lin Fan as a friend, that already made her more special than 99% of women. Zhong Lei, Lin Fan, I'm so excited. We get our guns tomorrow? I don't think I'll be able to sleep tonight. Lin Fan, I'm excited too. I'm really curious what kind of gun we'll be getting tomorrow. Zhong Lei, eh? Lin Fan, you like guns too? Lin Fan, yeah, I've always liked guns. I just never had the chance to handle a real one. But tomorrow I finally get to. Zhong Lei, in a few days, we even get to shoot live ammo. I think I'm gonna lose sleep tonight too. Zhong Lei, nowadays, there aren't many guys who like guns. Zhong Lei, most boys are into figurines, dolls. Not many even play with toy guns anymore. Lin Fan, maybe I'm just different from other guys. Lin Fan also found it odd, boys in this world didn't seem very interested in guns. That was totally different from the world he came from. In his previous life, all kinds of guns, swords, and other weapons, even a straight stick, could become a boy's treasure. But boys in this world weren't that into these things. It was strange. Then again, in this world, the male birth rate had already dropped to an outrageous 10%, even as low as 5%. With something that absurd, boys not liking guns and preferring figurines and dolls didn't seem so strange anymore. Zhong Lei, Lin Fan, if you like guns, I can teach you sometime. I grew up with guns, you know. Lin Fan, oh? Your family has a gun license? Zhong Lei, my grandparents were hunters. They had several different hunting rifles. Lin Fan, wow. So jealous. Zhong Lei, too bad they've all passed away. The Hunter Association took the guns. But I grew up with guns, I know a lot about them. I even shot a wild boar once. Lin Fan, that's awesome. Where's your hometown? Let's go there sometime and hang out. Zhong Lei, sure. Sure. My hometown is in Arksan, on the edge of the Greater Xing'an Mountains. It's a super fun place. Lin Fan, the Greater Xing'an Mountains? It must be really cold there in winter, right? Zhong Lei, yeah, it's pretty cold. But it's fun too. You can ski, ride sleds pulled by horses, soak in hot springs. And if you're brave enough, you can go hunting in the mountains. Zhong Lei, rabbits, pheasants, wild boars, roe deer, even black bears. Lin Fan, except for rabbits, the rest probably can't be hunted casually, right? Zhong Lei, hee hee, as long as you have a licensed hunter with you, it's fine. Zhong Lei, if it's really dangerous, forget black bears, even pandas can be hunted. Lin Fan, then if there's a chance, you've got to take me to your hometown sometime. Zhong Lei, definitely. After making plans with Lin Fan, Zhong Lei, wearing light pajamas, rolled around excitedly on her bed. Lin Fan actually wanted to go to her hometown. Who else got this kind of treatment? Who else? Zhong Lei, what are you doing? Her roommate on the bed next to her looked over, curious. Acting crazy in the middle of the night? We trained all day and you're not tired? She's probably chatting with her male god again. You've been chatting for days and still haven't gone on a date. Lei Lei, you better step it up, the others chimed in. Hee hee, Lin Fan said he wants to go to my hometown. Zhong Lei smiled smugly. WTF? For real? You two are moving that fast? You haven't even kissed and you're already talking about meeting the parents? The whole dorm was shocked. No, I said my hometown has hunting, and Lin Fan said he wants me to take him there. Hee hee hee. The male god likes hunting? My hometown is in western Hunan, we can hunt there too. Lei Lei, give me Lin Fan's WeChat, please. Lei Lei, take me with you when you go. I'll pay for your meals for a whole month. Boys' dormitory. Lin Fan didn't expect that Zhonglei's home was near the Greater Xing'an Mountains, and that they could go hunting. He definitely had to visit and experience the local customs with her. In his past life, as someone from the south, he'd always wanted to visit the northeast during winter, but it never happened because of various reasons. This life, he had to make it happen, no more delays. The next day, during the morning training, the nearby militia armed department delivered the weapons. The QBZ-00 assault rifle was developed and equipped by the military in the year 2100. Now, it had already been replaced by the newer QBZ-50 model and was handed over to the militia for continued use and recycling. Each person received a rifle. The guns were well maintained, but there were still obvious signs of use, some areas even had dents and scratches. Lin Fan held the rifle in his hands, unable to calm down emotionally. All the rifles were unloaded, without bullets, but even so, they were not light. Lin Fan estimated that each rifle weighed at least 6 to 7 pounds. This was confirmed by instructor Chening. The QBZ-00 rifle, unloaded, weighs 7.2 pounds. That's about the same as holding 6 bottles of mineral water. Holding it for a short time might feel fine, but after a while, it would feel very heavy. The instructor first taught everyone to become familiar with the rifle, then how to disassemble and reassemble it, and finally how to maintain it. After learning that, they resumed the previous training routines. Standing at attention, marching in step, and goose-stepping. The only difference now was that they each carried a rifle at all times. Yes, every single person had to carry their issued rifle at all times. Even during the final performance at the end of training, they would still have to carry the rifle. Lin Fan and the others spent 2 days getting familiar with the rifles. On the 28th, live-fire shooting training officially began. The Royal Vocational Technical College at Wadayaku had an indoor shooting range, usually used by the school's shooting team for training. Each class entered the range in turn and, under the instruction and supervision of instructors and upperclasswomen from the shooting team, performed live-fire shooting. Each freshman had a shooting team senior beside them as a safety officer to prevent any accidents. Lin Fan also had one by his side. Lin Fan, don't be nervous, relax. Align the front sight, rear sight, and the target, make a straight line. Then hold your breath, keep your body steady, and gently pull the trigger. You'll definitely hit the target, the senior sister guided Lin Fan in shooting. But honestly, Lin Fan wasn't really listening to her. 3-point alignment, conscious aiming, subconscious firing. These shooting fundamentals, how many guys in his previous world didn't know them? Holding your breath during shooting was also a well-known technique. Lin Fan followed the shooting basics he remembered, calmed himself, kept his breathing steady, used both eyes to observe the target, and felt the rifle's consistent muzzle sway. He held his breath. Bang! The bullet hit dead center. 10 ring. Bang! 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 Lin Fan fired 5 shots in a row, with about 1 or 2 seconds between each shot. The screen above showed the target scores. 10 ring, 9 ring, 8 ring, 9 ring, 9 ring, 5 shots, a total of 45 points. Everyone in the class was stunned when they saw Lin Fan's shooting score. 45 points? No way. Before this, the best score today was only 40 points. Lin Fan directly broke the day's shooting record. He became the top shooter among the freshmen. Lin Fan. Have you practiced shooting before? The senior beside him asked in shock. Keep in mind, freshmen were shooting at 50-meter targets. Without scopes, the target looked tiny to the naked eye. Many students who had never handled a gun didn't even land 1 bullet on the target. But Lin Fan scored 45 points with 5 shots? Was he cheating? Lin Fan removed the magazine, pulled the bolt a few times to ensure the chamber was empty, then stood up with the rifle. First time shooting. Felt pretty easy, Lin Fan said with a smile. He wasn't sure if he had talent or if the magic hands bonus affected shooting too. But he really did feel it was easy. Lin Fan, you're a natural-born sniper, the senior exclaimed. She had been on the shooting team for 2 years and still couldn't consistently shoot 45 points. Lin Fan returned to the line holding his rifle, and his classmates immediately started praising him. Lin Fan, you're amazing. You hit the target with every shot. Not just hit the target, he broke the day's record. 5 shots, and I only hit the target once. Is there anything you can't do, Lin Fan? I can't give birth, Lin Fan joked. I can. I can. If you want kids, Lin Fan, come to me. I can have as many as you want. Lin Fan went viral again. While he was shooting on the ground, more than one person had taken videos on their phones. Later, they all uploaded the footage to their Douyin and Xiaohongshu accounts. First time shooting, 5 shots, 45 points, if that's not a sniper prodigy, what is? It had been years since anyone had seen such talent in shooting. My husband can do everything. Hubby's so awesome, smart, draws well, writes songs, sings beautifully, and now even shoots like a pro. Other men can't compare to even one hair on his leg. Boo-hoo, hubby, you're so good at shooting, why can't you hit my target? You're not right upstairs. Hubby, I'm pregnant. Stop playing outside, come home with me. Get lost. Fan is mine, he'd never go for a heavy tank like you. Die all of you. Hubby is mine. Stop fighting, we're all fans. We must unite. No internal conflicts. Zhonglei also saw the video of Lin Fan's shooting during training. As someone who had played with guns since childhood, an old hunter, she knew very well what it meant to hit the bullseye on your first shot. Lin Fan's total was 45 points in 5 shots, but she clearly saw that his first shot hit the dead center of the bullseye. If it had been an official match, that would have been a 10.9-point shot. With that kind of aim, he could hit any flying dragon in the forest back in her hometown with precision. Zhonglei, Lin Fan, I saw your shooting video, 45 points in 5 shots, that's amazing. Zhonglei, this old hunter only scored 42 points. I feel like you could be my master now. Lin Fan, impressive, right? Lin Fan, when we go to your hometown, take me to hunt black bears. I want to eat bear paw. Zhonglei, no problem. I'll get the best marksman in the village to take us into the mountains. Zhonglei, just thinking about it gets me excited. What if we go during National Day holiday? Lin Fan, it shouldn't be snowing yet in October, right? Zhonglei, not yet. Snow usually starts in late November, and really sets in by December. Lin Fan, then let's wait for winter break. I still want to soak in a hot spring in the snow. Bathing in an outdoor hot spring while it's snowing must feel amazing. Zhonglei, you're right, then it's settled, during winter break, I'll take you to my hometown. Zhonglei felt a bit regretful that Lin Fan didn't agree to go back to her hometown with her during the National Day holiday. Ever since Lin Fan said he wanted to go to her hometown with her, she had been looking forward to it. But for a trip back home, a 2-day weekend was definitely not enough. The closest suitable time to go home was the 7-day National Day holiday. If they couldn't go then, they'd have to wait until the winter break. Zhonglei tried suggesting that they go during the National Day break because she wanted to enjoy some beautiful time with Lin Fan, just the two of them. Unfortunately, Lin Fan didn't agree. Now, she could only wait until winter break. But they were still in military training, classes hadn't even officially started yet, winter break was still more than 4 months away. Just thinking about nearly half a year of waiting made Zhonglei feel like time was dragging painfully slow. Still, even if it felt like forever, she had to wait patiently. At least she still had a chance to travel the mountains and rivers with Lin Fan. Other people didn't even have that. Boys' dormitory. After chatting with the girls, Lin Fan picked up the tablet he had bought a few days ago, opened the drawing app, and started sketching on the screen with a stylus. He was drawing a comic movie from his previous life. Your name. His Douyin followers had already surpassed 6 million, so he was definitely a popular internet celebrity. But all those fans followed him because of his looks and singing voice, which made him feel like he wasn't doing his real job. After all, he was a manga major. So a few days ago, Lin Fan decided to adapt a super popular manga work from his previous life to shock his fans. He wanted them to know that he was professionally skilled too. He was still in military training, and college classes hadn't even started yet. Lin Fan didn't actually have a deep grasp of professional manga knowledge or drawing techniques. But his sketching skills and color sense were solid. Those were things he had self-studied even before awakening memories of his past life. As for how to draw a comic? Though he hadn't received formal training, he had seen tons of comics and animations in both his past and present lives. So imitating layouts and paneling wasn't hard. Plus, he had the full storyline in his head, which made creating it even easier. However, Lin Fan wasn't copying the original work exactly. He made localized changes to some background settings. The names were changed from Japanese style to Daxia Empire names, and the setting was changed to the Daxia Empire as well. The female lead's job, the societal settings, everything was localized. It would be too wild if a guy who grew up in the Daxia Empire made his first work with a Japanese setting. People might even think he had bent values. Before he started drawing, he did think about what theme to choose for his first work. Should he go with the kid-friendly blue fatty, the mystery-style Death Elementary School kid, or shounen stuff like Death, Fire, Sea, Dragon Ball, Neza? But after careful consideration, he decided to go with a romance anime. Because in this world, the mainstream comics, games, movies, all of them were about falling in love. No matter what the genre was, it was all just different ways of telling love stories. Workplace drama, female employee and male boss fall in love. Medical drama, female doctor and male director fall in love. Legal drama, female legal assistant and male lawyer fall in love. Period drama, civilian girl falls in love with a prince or hero. In short, just romance in different forms. Lin Fan could understand the focus on love. After all, who didn't want a sweet romance? But what confused him was, back in his previous life, where the male-to-female ratio was balanced, it was always the domineering CEO falls in love with ordinary me kind of story. In this world, women outnumbered men by more than 10 to 1, why was it still the domineering CEO falls in love with ordinary me? Shouldn't the roles be reversed? Though he didn't get it, to avoid his first comic flopping, Lin Fan still decided to stick with a romance theme. He had a Heavenly King-level voice buff for singing, but not a master-level skill buff for drawing manga. So better to play it safe with his first work. Even though all the media in this world told love stories in different ways, none had used a body swap romance like Your Name yet. Once published, it would definitely shock readers in this world. He drew until midnight, then put down the tablet and lay down to rest. Work is work, but rest is also important. If he stayed up too much, he might turn into One Punch Man in a few years. The 30th. After the day's training ended, wails erupted from every class. Today was the last day of military training. Tomorrow was the final military parade. After that, their 2 weeks of suffering would finally be over. But before that, all freshmen had to do a 12.4-mile weighted hike tonight. They didn't have to run, just walk the full 12.4 miles, but they had to carry weight. Everyone had to carry their own blanket, and also carry their issued rifle. A 12.4-mile weighted hike was definitely painful. However, boys still had special treatment. They only needed to walk 1 mile. If they couldn't continue, they could drop out at any time. Girls didn't have that option, they had to complete the full distance. Naturally, the girls were wailing nonstop. But no matter how much they wailed, the hike still had to be done. They just ate more at dinner, went back to the dorm to tie up their blankets, and returned to the training ground to gather. After picking up their rifles again, they set off with the instructor. After walking just 1 mile, many boys dropped out of the team, carrying their 6 to 7 pound rifles and several pounds of blankets, and returned to campus through the nearest gate. Instructor Chinning came up to Lin Fan. Lin Fan, how are you feeling? Can you handle it? If not, just stop here. It's okay. I'm fine, instructor. Lin Fan shook his head. A 12.4-mile weighted hike, such a great cardio workout, how could he possibly make an excuse to skip it? Cardio was the best for burning fat. All right. If you can't go on, let me know, Chinning nodded. After half a month of training, she knew Lin Fan was a guy with the personality of a girl, not as pampered as other boys. So she let him continue with the main group. But after every mile, Chinning ran over to check on Lin Fan's condition. The 12.4-mile hike lasted from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m., and all classes returned to campus. Classmates, congratulations on completing your 2 weeks of military training. I know it's been tough these 2 weeks. But now is not the time to relax. Tomorrow is the final parade. I hope everyone brings their best form and shows the school leaders and faculty the results of your hard work. Don't let your sweat go to waste. Be here tomorrow at 8 a.m. You can sleep in a bit, but don't be late. Or you won't get credit, and all that effort will be wasted. Yes, everyone responded weakly. After 12.4 miles of hiking with weights, everyone was exhausted. They just wanted to get back to the dorm and rest. All right, dismissed. At the word dismissed, everyone scattered like birds. Lin Fan, wait a moment, Instructor Chinning called out. Instructor, is there something else? Lin Fan had no energy left. Even as a guy, a 12.4-mile armed hike had worn him out too. The girls who were about to leave immediately stopped when they saw the instructor keeping Lin Fan behind alone. They all stood not far away, curiously watching. They all wanted to know why the instructor had kept Lin Fan behind, what was going on. Seeing the other girls not leaving, Instructor Chinning instantly felt awkward. So she put on a stern face and said, "What are you all doing? You're not tired after a 12.4-mile weighted hike." One girl sat cross-legged on the ground right away. Tired, instructor. I'm so tired I can't take another step. Let me rest before I leave. Yeah, let us rest a bit before we leave. The girls around her all copied her. They were only a little curious at first, but after seeing the instructor act like this, their curiosity grew even stronger. The instructor keeping Lin Fan behind, was she going to say something that couldn't be heard by others? The more secretive something seemed, the more they wanted to hear it. Seeing her student soldiers acting so shameless, Chinning felt even more embarrassed. With so many people around, how could she even open her mouth? Instructor? Lin Fan looked at Chen, wanting to know what she really wanted to say. Chen thought for a moment, then finally started slowly. Lin Fan, I've seen all the effort you've put in these past 2 weeks. Don't stress about tomorrow's performance. Just do your best. I believe in you. Chen said, giving Lin Fan's arm a pat. I definitely won't feel pressured. Lin Fan nodded. During the past 2 weeks of military training, among all the boys in the nearby classes, he had been the most serious. Forget those boys who needed a break less than 30 minutes into training, he was even more precise than most of the girls when it came to form. How could he possibly feel pressured? But he felt that what Instructor Chen originally wanted to say, probably wasn't this. Maybe Instructor Chen liked him too? After Lin Fan and Instructor Chen parted ways, the girls saw there was no drama to enjoy and all left disappointed. On the way back to the dorm, Lin Fan held his phone and messaged Instructor Chen. Lin Fan, Instructor, what you wanted to say earlier, wasn't what you actually said, right? On the other end, Chen felt her phone vibrate and immediately took it out to see Lin Fan's message. But she didn't reply right away, because she didn't know what to say. Just like Lin Fan guessed, she liked him. From the very first day of training, from the moment she first saw Lin Fan, she had fallen for him at first sight. And later, when Lin Fan stepped forward to sing, she couldn't stop herself from falling even deeper. But because of the relationship between instructor and trainee, she couldn't say anything about her feelings. Now that training was ending, and after tomorrow's military parade, the instructors would leave the Royal Academy and return to the Infantry Academy to continue their studies. The chances of seeing each other again were slim. So she had originally planned to use this last opportunity to express her feelings to Lin Fan. Whether they could become a couple or not, at least she would have been brave, and wouldn't have any regrets. Chen never imagined that her students were so gossipy. The moment she kept Lin Fan behind, all the girls just stood around and wouldn't leave. If it had been a bunch of strangers around, she might have had the courage to say what was in her heart. But to say all that lovey-dovey stuff in front of her own students, she really couldn't do it. The courage she had just worked up disappeared. Now she couldn't summon it again. Looking at the message on her phone, Chen took several deep breaths before finally mustering the courage to reply to Lin Fan. Chen, yes, what I wanted to say wasn't what I said earlier. Chen, what I really wanted to say is. Chen, Lin Fan, I like you. Chen, I've liked you since the first day of training, from the moment we first met. Chen, military training is ending. After tomorrow's parade, we instructors will all be leaving. Chen, I don't know how you feel about me, Lin Fan, or if this confession will work. Chen, but I felt I had to say it. If I didn't, I might never get the chance again. Chen, Lin Fan, I like you. I like your handsome face. I like the songs you write, your singing voice. I like your determination, your unwillingness to give up. I like the strength in your heart. Chen, I don't know if this feels sudden to you, but I'm serious. Chen, if you feel even a little bit of something special for me, could you give me a response? Chen, if not, that's okay too. At least I didn't miss the chance to tell you. Chen, I've wanted to let you know for a long time that I like you. Chen sent voice messages to Lin Fan one after another while walking. After saying everything in her heart, she felt a wave of relief. Letting out the words that had been buried for 2 weeks made her feel completely free. She knew every guy had people chasing after him, and for someone as handsome and outstanding as Lin Fan, even more so. She was pretty, sure, but there were countless pretty women in the world. There were many just as pretty as her, even prettier. Like the 5 sisters who often came by during training to see Lin Fan, they were more beautiful than her, had better skin, and came from families far wealthier than hers. How could she compete with them? Even if Lin Fan didn't feel a thing for her, she wouldn't be surprised. On the other side, Lin Fan had just returned to the dorm. Seeing the long stream of voice messages from Chen, the corners of his lips lifted slightly. He didn't even need to listen to know that, just like the other girls, Instructor Chen had fallen for his overwhelming good looks. Still, Lin Fan played through every message one by one. After listening, he couldn't stop smiling. Sometimes, being too handsome was really a kind of crime. Lin Fan typed 2 words in the chat and hit send. Lin Fan, come out. After a while, Chen replied with 1 message. Chen, what? Lin Fan, come out. I'm waiting for you at the south gate. Lin Fan, Instructor, didn't you say you liked me? Then come out. Lin Fan, before we part ways, let's at least make one unforgettable memory. Although Instructor Chen had tan skin from long-term training, it was just a wheatish tone. The darker skin didn't take away from her looks. Her face still scored an 86, and her figure was at 89. At 20 years old, she was only 2 years older than Lin Fan. Plus, with her being totally inexperienced, and having boldly confessed tonight, how could he not give her a chance? Having a soldier sister in the wife group wasn't bad. Besides, Chinning was a top student at the infantry academy. Once she graduated, she'd hold the rank of second lieutenant. Definitely good enough for him. Of course, all of that was secondary. Even if Chinning was from some unknown place or background, it didn't matter. Lin Fan only had two requirements for choosing a wife: she had to be beautiful, and her values had to align with his. That was enough. As for everything else, he didn't care. If they had it, great. If not, also fine. Just like the five sisters, if they hadn't been royalty, as long as he met them, he would still have tried to win them over. Love is what matters most. South Gate. Lin Fan slung a backpack over one shoulder and walked toward the south gate. Inside the bag were a tablet and a clean set of clothes for changing. Lin Fan's invitation was already so obvious, there was no way Chinning didn't know what it meant. Since she agreed to come out, that meant tonight he would definitely get to play a friendly basketball match with Chinning and even make a slam dunk. With how hot it was, they would definitely sweat after the game, so of course he brought a clean set of clothes. Lin Fan had just arrived when he saw Chinning rushing over toward him. At this moment, Chinning looked completely different from how he remembered her. From the first day of military training, she had always worn a uniform similar to the standard training outfit. Every day during training, she wore that instructor uniform. Just like how she had never seen him in everyday clothes, he had also never seen her in everyday clothes. Now, he finally did. Chinning was wearing a slim-fitting, light blue off-shoulder long-sleeve t-shirt, light denim shorts, paired with light gray knee-high socks and white sneakers. Her shoulder-length hair was tied up in a bun, and she had a brown shoulder bag. Sexy yet cute, full of youthful energy and playfulness. Lin Fan, I'm sorry I'm late. Chinning ran up to him, out of breath, and immediately apologized. Once she confirmed they were going on a date, she rushed back to the temporary dorm the instructors were staying in to shower and change. After a full day of training and then the 12.4-mile hike at night, even with her stamina, she had still sweated a lot. There was no way she'd dare show up for a date with Lin Fan without showering and changing. If Lin Fan smelled her sweat, their relationship would be ruined. Even though she had moved fast and rushed, she still arrived later than Lin Fan. It was killing her. For a date, the girl showing up later than the guy? That was a deadly deduction in points. Chinning cautiously looked into Lin Fan's eyes, afraid he'd be upset and just walk away. She would seriously cry if that happened. But Lin Fan's next words warmed her heart. It's fine, instructor. I just got here too. Also, you look really pretty today. It's my first time seeing you in casual clothes, Lin Fan said with a smile. Chinning was so touched she nearly cried. As she was running over, she had clearly seen Lin Fan waiting there under the lights. Yet he didn't blame her for being late. Instead, he complimented her beauty. Lin Fan. You look really handsome today too. Even more than usual. Chinning quickly responded with praise. And she wasn't just saying that, she truly meant it. Just like how Lin Fan hadn't seen her in casual wear, she had never seen Lin Fan dressed casually either. He always wore those basic training uniforms. Even though the training clothes couldn't hide Lin Fan's looks, now that he was in well-fitted, proper clothes, his looks had definitely leveled up. Alright, let's stop complimenting each other here. It's getting late, let's hurry, Lin Fan said as he grabbed Chen Ying's hand and led her toward the hotel across the street. The moment Lin Fan grabbed her hand, Chen Ying's brain went fuzzy. Lin Fan held her hand? Lin Fan, so forward. Following Lin Fan, just thinking about soon getting to kiss him made Chen Ying's heart race faster and faster. Hotel. One room with a king-sized bed. Okay, that's $120. Please show your ID. Lin Fan took out his phone to pay, but Chinning quickly handed over her own phone so the clerk could scan her payment code. Going to a hotel with a guy, how could she let the guy pay? People might think she was freeloading. Lin Fan didn't argue with her. Since he came to this world, he had to respect its rules. And this was Chinning taking the initiative, it wasn't like he forced her. Once inside the room, Chinning was instantly super nervous. Lin Fan, do you want some water? It was her first time going to a hotel with a guy, she had zero experience. Now that they were in the room, she had no idea what came next. What was the process? Talk for a while? Or get straight to the point? I'm not thirsty, but I'm a little hungry. Lin Fan pulled Chinning into his arms. You're hungry? What do you want to eat? I'll order delivery right now. Chinning quickly reached for her phone. I don't want delivery, I want to eat you. Silken sleeves flutter on the bed, lovers entwined in embrace. Mandarin ducks dance neck to neck, jade pillows joined in delight. Lin Fan had brought his tablet. He had planned to use it during his post-event clarity time to get some work done, maybe draw a few pages of his comic. A bit each day, and the whole work would be done soon. But plans couldn't keep up with changes. Once he hit that clarity phase, there was no time to draw anything. If he really did try to draw a few pages, the sun would be rising and he wouldn't get any sleep. In the end, he didn't even take the tablet out of his bag. He just fell asleep holding Chenning. The next morning, Chenning woke up first. To be fair, people who exercise regularly really are healthier and recover faster. She had trained all day, done a 12.4-mile hike at night, and then didn't sleep until after 3 a.m., but she still woke up at 7 a.m. If Chenning hadn't woken him, he wouldn't have wanted to get up at all. Military parade or whatever, screw it. But in the end, Chenning pulled Lin Fan up. He was a guy, so it didn't matter. Even if he skipped the parade, there wouldn't be any consequences. But it was different for Chenning. She was an instructor, a student of the infantry academy. If she missed the parade, she could be penalized when she got back. Her dorm mates knew she ran out last night too. If she skipped the parade because she was on a date with a guy, she'd not only get penalized, she'd become the laughingstock of the whole school. So for her sake, Lin Fan got up. After washing up, they returned to school together and then went to their own dorms. To attend the parade, they had to wear training uniforms or instructor uniforms. Casual wear wasn't allowed. Back at the dorm, Zhang Wei was still gaming at his desk. Still gaming? Aren't you going to the parade? What's the rush? They said 8 a.m. meetup, but it'll be at least another 30 minutes before anything starts. It's hot outside, I'm not going early to bake in the sun. But you didn't come back last night. Which girl did you book a room with this time? Zhang Wei turned and looked at Lin Fan, who was changing. Yeah. Lin Fan, I gotta say, you're way too casual about this. If you sleep with girls so easily, they won't treasure you. You could go to the Imperial Sperm Bank once and get at least $1,500 in nutrition compensation. Do those girls pay you that much per night? We guys have a short prime, man. If you don't take care of your body, you'll regret it sooner or later. Lin Fan understood what Zhang Wei said, but he wouldn't join in. In a world like paradise, with girls being so proactive, if he still pushed all the girls away, wouldn't that mean he transmigrated for nothing? Although there were sayings online describing how short a man's prime is. Stuff like, in middle age, men soak goji berries in thermoses. Or, after 30, men go downhill every day. Or, a man after 26 is no different from one at 62. But those were exaggerated. Or maybe they applied to most people, but not to everyone. Some people, even at 62, still had the body of someone who's 26. Lin Fan didn't know how long his body would last, but he had a system. Even if his original prime only lasted to 40, or even just 30, now that he had the system, his prime could be extended indefinitely. Up until the last second before death could still count as his prime. After changing clothes, Lin Fan left the dorm and headed for the sports field. When he arrived, there were already many people standing there. In the area where their class used to train, the girls from his class were already lined up in formation, and instructor Chenning had also changed back into her instructor uniform and arrived ahead of him. In addition, around the field and in the stands, a large number of upper-class women and upperclassmen in casual clothes had gathered. With military training about to end, the upperclassmen were also about to start school. In the past few days, many of them had already returned to campus. While they trained, plenty of seniors had come to watch. Some particularly mean seniors even deliberately brought huge watermelons to watch them train from the side, trying to provoke the underclassmen suffering under the hot sun. It's Lin Fan himself. Hubby's even more handsome in real life than online. Lin Fan, I love you. As Lin Fan walked into the field, some girls who saw him immediately let out waves of screams. Lin Fan was extremely popular now, his Douyin followers had already passed 10 million. Many seniors hadn't even returned to school yet but already knew about Lin Fan. Now seeing him in person, it was too exciting. Fortunately, Wudayaku Royal Vocational Technical College was a higher education institution, and those who could get into the Royal College all had relatively high standards, or pride. Except for the arts and sports departments, students from other majors were all top scorers back in their hometowns. If your grades weren't good, there was no way to get into the Royal College. Also, since it was easy for male students to report female students for sexual harassment, even though many girls were screaming, they still held back from swarming Lin Fan. Lin Fan smiled toward the crowd around him but didn't stop walking as he headed toward his class formation. That smile made the screaming seniors go even crazier. Hubby smiled at me. Bullshit. Hubby clearly smiled at me. Lin Fan is so gentle. I want to have his babies. Fly free, my love. I will follow you forever. Lin Fan, return to formation. Instructor Chenning called out as she saw him approach. From her expression and tone, there was no trace of the fact that she and Lin Fan had shared the same pillow just last night. Yes, instructor. Lin Fan smiled and returned to formation. He didn't mind Chen Ying's attitude. He knew she was just shy in front of the students, afraid they'd find out about their relationship and give her strange looks. A romance between an instructor and a student, it was like a forbidden love between a teacher and student. Attention! Eyes right. Align. March in step. Go! Chening led class 1 of the manga major to their designated position. As time passed, more and more class formations arrived. 9 a.m. School leadership took the stage and gave a 10-minute formal speech. The military parade officially began. The first event was the class-by-class march. First, approaching us now is the Imperial National Flag Honor Guard. Their uniforms were different from all the other class formations. They wore formal, military uniforms. At the front was 1 flag bearer and 2 flag guards. Behind them was the Honor Guard formation, 3 rows of boys in front, 3 rows of girls behind. By tradition, all royal family members among the new freshmen were included in the Honor Guard. If the number was insufficient, good-looking students were selected from other classes to join. Lin Fan had originally been invited but wasn't selected in the end. His height was too tall. This time, only students between 5 feet 7 inches and 5 feet 11 inches were allowed. Lin Fan was 6 feet 0.5 inches, didn't meet the requirement, so he was left out. As for why the height requirement was between 5 feet 7 inches and 5 feet 11 inches, that was an unspoken rule. Every year the height standards changed. It depended on the height range of all male royal family members that year. If you were too tall or too short, you'd look out of place in the formation. What a shame, Lin Fan's 4 centimeters too tall. Otherwise, he could have been in the Honor Guard. Right? If Lin Fan wore that uniform, he'd be the most handsome one. I say it's not a shame. If he were in the Honor Guard, he wouldn't have trained with us. That's true. Everyone, quiet. The instructor scolded softly. The school leaders were watching from the stage. What if they got noticed for chatting? After the Honor Guard, it was time for formations from different majors and classes. Soon, Lin Fan's class 1 of the manga major entered the queue. Lin Fan and the vice class rep, Dong Xuexue, were the front leaders. And Lin Fan was the only male lead marcher among all class formations, aside from the Honor Guard. Other boys all slacked off during training, couldn't march straight at all, let alone be leaders. They could only blend into the crowd. Lin Fan and Dong Xuexue held rifles, marched in sync, leading their entire class past the reviewing stand. The crowd erupted in cheers, a sound none of the other class formations got when passing the stage. Lin Fan was just that popular. Even in school, a huge number of girls were his fans. Some boys, too, were captivated by his 2 songs. They were just that good. Lin Fan wasn't sure if it was his imagination, but he felt countless eyes on him from the stands. He even felt like people on the reviewing stand were watching him too. No, it wasn't an illusion. When passing the stage, all members of the formation had to look toward the platform, so did Lin Fan. Then, his eyes met with the principal's, who was standing in the center. The moment their eyes met, the principal smiled at him. And that smile had meaning, a strange, deep meaning. It made Lin Fan shiver a little. Could it be, the principal has a thing for me too? No way. Even if the principal was a woman, she looked at least over 40. He didn't mind women a few years older, but not a few decades older. No way. He had to talk to the Li Xiling sisters later. He really didn't want to be taken care of by the principal, even if she was royalty too. After the march past ended, the next was the dagger combat drill. It was performed by a formation of 160 girls, arranged in a 20 by 8 square in the center of the field. Each of these girls had a sharp gaze and overwhelming presence, completely on par with the boys from Lin Fan's previous life. Due to the sharp decline in the male population, the male-to-female ratio had reached a shocking 1:10, or even worse. This meant that women in this world basically held up the entire sky. To be honest, Lin Fan really admired the women of this world. After the dagger drill was the hand-to-hand combat formation, also an all-female unit, not a single boy. After that came the enemy capture boxing formation, the capture knife formation, battlefield first aid demonstrations, etc. Every performance was done entirely by female formations. Women were the pillars of this world. As for the men? They couldn't even be bothered to properly practice marching or walking in step. After just a short while of training, they'd run off to rest in the shade. How could they possibly join these intense drills? The only training that included boys was the flag guard formation. Once selected, they weren't allowed to refuse. After joining the Honor Guard, slacking off in training wasn't permitted either. After all, the imperial flag represented the Great Xia Empire. If the flag guards couldn't march properly, wouldn't that be a disgrace to the empire? By the time all the performances were finished, it was already 11 a.m. The principal returned to the podium and gave another 7 or 8 minutes of closing remarks. Only then did the military parade officially conclude. All the class formations orderly left the field. "Instructor, are you leaving today?" Class President Chen Pingping asked, clearly reluctant. After 2 weeks of training, they had built deep bonds with their instructors. After all, Chening was only 1 or 2 years older than them. They were basically the same age, there was no generation gap. "Yeah, after lunch. We leave at 2 p.m., Chening replied, also feeling reluctant to part. Of course, what she felt most reluctant about was Lin Fan. They had just made their relationship official. Once she returned, it would be hard to see him again in the short term. Although the Great Xia Army's infantry academy wasn't a fully closed military school, it was still under strict military-style management. It was basically impossible to leave campus just to meet Lin Fan. But Chening didn't let her eyes linger too long on Lin Fan. She didn't want the others to know she was with him. She knew very well that many people in manga class 1 liked Lin Fan. Some had even confessed to him privately, but none had succeeded. And yet she, a visiting instructor, succeeded. She didn't want her students to resent her for that. "Instructor, let's go out for lunch. Consider it a farewell meal for you," Vice Class President Dong Shueshue suggested. "There's no rule saying instructors can't eat with us today, right?" Lin Fan chimed in. After 2 weeks together, it was only right that they treat instructor Chening to a farewell meal. Chening shook her head. "No, there's no rule like that." "In that case, let's move fast. It's already getting late. Let's find a restaurant." "Instructor still has to report in after lunch," said Class President Chen Pingping, clapping her hands. Everyone exited through the west gate and arrived at the food street outside, where there were many restaurants. Chening was from northern Jiangxi, known for loving spicy food. They found a Jiangxi-style stir-fry restaurant. With 40 people, they took up 4 large tables in the hall. Luckily, they arrived early. If they had been 10 or 15 minutes later, there wouldn't have been enough seats for everyone. Since this was for Instructor Chen Ying's farewell, Lin Fan, the only guy in the class, naturally had to accompany her and sat right next to her. That made Chening extremely happy the whole time. Since she had to report at 2 p.m., Chening couldn't drink and could only use soft drinks in place of alcohol. But the rest of the girls had no such worries. Every table had plenty of booze. Baijiu, beer, they drank quite a bit. Many, emboldened by alcohol, came up to Lin Fan to confess their love. Lin Fan treated everyone the same, he rejected them all. It wasn't that there weren't attractive girls in the class. In fact, only 2 girls met his standards, Vice President Dong Shueshue and another girl. But with so many people confessing one after another, he couldn't just accept any of them. If he accepted either of the 2, not only would it embarrass the rest, but those 2 might even be socially isolated later. He could consider that privately another time, but today was definitely not the time to accept anyone. Since he rejected everyone, no one felt too bad. Most of them even said they wouldn't give up so easily. At 1 p.m., Lin Fan went to the front counter and paid the bill. 4 tables totaled a bit over 5,100 yen, the owner gave a small discount and only charged 5,000 yen. That came out to about 125 yen per person. It wasn't because the dishes were expensive, just that people drank a lot. Most were laughing and chatting, not even noticing Lin Fan had gone to pay. Only Chening, sipping soda, noticed Lin Fan had gone to the counter. When Lin Fan first got up, she thought he was going to the restroom. She didn't expect him to go pay the bill. Chening walked over. "Lin Fan, how much was it? I'll transfer it to you." "How could a guy pay for the meal?" "What, we're splitting the bill now?" "No, we have a rule. We're not allowed to let students pay for food or drinks," Chening quickly explained. She had intended to split the bill from the start. But now that Lin Fan had already paid, she couldn't let him take the hit. Guys had way more expenses: clothes, skincare, electronics, gaming, microtransactions, all cost money. Lin Fan just spent 5,000 in one go. How was he going to survive the rest of the month? "What? I can't even treat my girlfriend to a meal now. If anyone has a problem, tell them to come find me, I'll explain it to them myself," Lin Fan said with a glare. What couple couldn't spend money on each other? There was no such law in the empire. Lin Fan, Chening was overwhelmed with emotion. In this day and age, how many guys in relationships still spent money on their girlfriends? Meeting Lin Fan and being with him might just be the luckiest thing that ever happened to her. "If you end up short on money later, message me. I'll transfer some to you," Chening said. "What, you think your man's that poor? Don't forget, I signed an SSS-level contract with Starshine Entertainment. Even without bonuses, just my base salary is 50 million yen a year. You think I'm short on cash? Chining pursed her lips. She felt like she wasn't doing a good job as a girlfriend at all. Lin Fan didn't seem to need her at all. What, I spend money on you and you're unhappy? Lin Fan noticed something off in her mood. It felt weird. This would have been impossible in his past life, unless it was the other way around. No, no. Chining quickly shook her head. She had finally succeeded in her confession. She didn't want to be single again in under 24 hours. Lin Fan, this is for you. Chining pulled out a white jade bracelet from her pocket. What's this? It's a family heirloom from my grandma, passed to me by my mom. She said when I get married, it'll be part of my dowry, Chining said, looking at him hopefully. She wanted Lin Fan to accept it. You little dummy. Lin Fan took the bracelet, cupped her face gently. After you graduate, we'll get married. Mua. Hey. Look over there. Woo. Instructor. Lin Fan, they're actually together. Why am I not the instructor? I also really want to join. Lin Fan kisses people and he's so handsome. I also really want to hug Lin Fan. First one person noticed Lin Fan and instructor Chining, then gradually everyone noticed the two of them. Chining was completely immersed, totally unaware that everyone's gazes had turned to them. But Lin Fan, while kissing Chining, was also checking the system reward. Just a moment ago, when he accepted Chinying's bracelet, a voice sounded in his mind from the system. Ding! Received gift from Chining, reward skill card piano mastery. Piano mastery. Lin Fan originally didn't know how to play piano, but after using this skill card, a great amount of piano playing knowledge and technique appeared in his mind. According to the piano grade system, Lin Fan's level now should be at a performance level. With the Magic Hands bonus, Lin Fan felt his piano playing level could even reach that of a normal pianist. After feeling the newly acquired piano playing skill, Lin Fan then voluntarily separated from Chining, and only then did Chining notice that all the students' eyes were on her. Just now while kissing she hadn't blushed, but now she flushed instantly. Why worry? You're my rightfully wedded girlfriend. Lin Fan held Chinying's hand and returned to their previous seats. Damn. Instructor, you're unfair. Sneaked up on Lin Fan behind our backs. Class President Chen Pingping looked at Chining with full envy. Just seeing the two of them hugging and kissing, she wished she could swap places with Chining. For that she'd even be willing to live 10 years less. Instructor. Confess frankly. When did you and Lin Fan get together? You kept it from us for so long? Vice Class President Dong Shueshue also felt unhappy. She believed she was the prettiest girl in the class. Among more than 40 people, she thought she had the best chance to be with Lin Fan. In the end, she failed, and instead this outsider, instructor Chining, beat her to it. She couldn't understand why. Even though she was right there by the water, she still didn't get the moon. So miserable. Not long ago, just last night when I confessed, Chining said with some embarrassment. Manga Class 1 originally had only Lin Fan as the male student, and yet he got intercepted by this outsider. In front of all the students, she felt somewhat guilty. Last night? Last night you two didn't say anything, right? So instructor, last night you kept Lin Fan behind alone, was that to confess? Everyone was crazy curious. Okay, are you interrogating us? Lin Fan interrupted the students' questions. It's getting late, we should go back. The instructor still has to gather everyone. If you're late, do you want the instructor to get criticized? Lin Fan, you still call her instructor? Shouldn't you say honey or wife? Someone teased loudly. You know nothing. Instructor is a term of endearment exclusive to Chining. Lin Fan hugged Chinying's waist and pulled her into his arms. Saying that, he looked at his wrist to check the time. Okay, it's past 1 o'clock, let's go. Oh right, those who drank less should support those who are drunk so they don't fall into the ditch, Lin Fan reminded. At 4 tables, several people were already leaning on the tables. Everyone left the restaurant and returned to school. The bus that would pick up Chining and the others had already arrived and was parked at the South Plaza. Chining returned to the dorm to pack up, and soon emerged from the dorm building pushing a suitcase with several other instructors. Lin Fan and company accompanied Chining and the others to the South Plaza. There were many people at the South Plaza, many had come to see off their class instructors. However, most were girls coming to see off, and boys were very few. Besides Lin Fan, there were only about 10 boys at the scene. Lin Fan classmate, give me a friend a companion next to Chining said. After 2 weeks of training, that instructor's class had stayed near their class nearly the whole time. So Lin Fan knew that female instructor. Yeah Lin Fan, add a friend. When you become a big star, I can show off to those around me, another person joked. Okay, add then. Lin Fan took out his phone and opened his QR code. Although these two girls didn't meet his standard of appearance, they were friends of Chen, so he had to respect that. They chatted only a short while, and soon it was time for Chen and the others to depart. The chief instructor gave the instruction to board the bus. Then something unexpected happened. Several female instructors came up to him, each placing a small gift box into his arms, saying, "Lin Fan, I like you," then turning and running away. In less than 2 minutes, he had 7 or 8 exquisitely packaged small gift boxes in his arms. He hadn't had time to catch them all, several gift boxes dropped to the ground, and a few female classmates from his class kindly helped him pick them up. Altogether, the gifts amounted to 15 or 16. In other words, 2 to 3 out of every 10 instructors had given him a gift. However, only 2 triggered system rewards. One rewarded a stamina card, the other a skill motorcycle driving mastery. If your appearance didn't meet the standard, even if you gave gifts the system wouldn't trigger a reward. At 2 p.m., several buses slowly departed the school. In one bus, Chen sat by the window, and through the glass she looked at Lin Fan with reluctant eyes. This time leaving, she wouldn't be able to meet Lin Fan again for a short while, just contact via phone. Seeing Chen depart, Lin Fan, with the help of Dong Xuexue and a few other girls, carried all the gifts back to the dorm. Whether those gifts triggered system rewards or not, they were still tokens of affection from girls who liked him. It would be inappropriate to just throw them away, he had to unpack them and see what was inside. At the bottom of the boys' dorm building, Dong Xuexue and the others couldn't enter the boys' dorm. Lin Fan asked the dorm supervisor sister for 2 plastic bags, then carried all the gifts and took the elevator back to his room. Walking into the dorm he saw Zhang Wei still playing games at the computer. Zhang Wei turned his head to look at Lin Fan and his face showed surprise. "Whoa! You were buying gifts for your girlfriends? Not to sound like I'm lecturing you, but we guys shouldn't be giving gifts to girls. Gift giving is what girls should do. If you give gifts to those girls, you'll only make them think you're easy. They'll stop cherishing you." Lin Fan, holding 2 bags of gifts, walked by behind Zhang Wei. "Do you think there's a possibility these are all gifts given to me?" Lin Fan sat on the sofa unpacking the gifts. Love letters plus chocolates, love letters plus doll, love letters plus silver bracelet, love letters plus figurine, love letters plus necklace. The gift boxes contained all kinds of presents, but almost every gift included a love letter. The most absurd gift was an electric cup. Lin Fan was simply shocked. The giver even wrote in the love letter that she had made the electric cup by hand, and the appearance was all designed according to her. If this weren't one of the 2 items that triggered the system reward, he really would have reported it. This totally counted as harassment. Only because her looks were good did Lin Fan kindly let her off. The other gift that triggered the system reward was a handgun. Of course, not a real gun, but a 1-to-1 model of a handgun. Among all the gifts, the one Lin Fan liked the most was this gun model. After all, how many guys in his previous life didn't love guns? The love letter included contact info and her photo. Lin Fan opened WeChat, added her contact info, and entered a verification message. "Thank you for your liking, I really like the gift you gave." After sending the message, Lin Fan opened the group chat of the 5 sisters. "Lin Fan, wives, thank you for your hard work. I have some things this afternoon, so I won't go today. I'll go to the company tomorrow morning instead, love you all." It was already 2:30 p.m., going to the company would take at least an hour, and he didn't feel like making another trip. No afternoon plans, he'd just stay in the dorm with the air conditioning on and draw the manga. He wanted to finish Your Name sooner, so he could give fans a shock. First make a name for himself in manga with Your Name, then afterwards he could draw whatever he liked. All the classic manga he had read before he could bring into this world: Death Note, Naruto, One Piece, Detective Conan, Dragon Ball, Doraemon, Crayon Shinchan, Neza, White Snake, Teen Times, 9 Songs, One Person, Skull Brothers. Of course, with so many classics, one person alone doesn't have enough time. But it's okay, he could start a manga company, and within the company form different manga teams. He would provide the outline and setting, and the other teams would complete the work. If there could be worker manga in his previous life, then this world could have worker manga too. Suddenly the class group chat popped up a message: everyone. Counselor Xia Tian, everyone. You have a break the next 2 days, classes start on the 3rd. Tonight at 7 p.m., everyone to Art Building Room 305 for a meeting. Try not to ask for leave. The schedule for this semester is in the group files, download it yourselves, or download the Royal Academy app and input your student number to check. Lin Fan read the counselor's message and was about to reply 1 to show he had received it. Just as he clicked into the input box, Counselor Xia Tian sent him a private message. Counselor Xia Tian, Lin Fan, you don't have other things to do tonight, right? Lin Fan, no, I'll be there on time. Counselor Xia Tian, great. Lin Fan, Counselor, is there something important to discuss tonight? Counselor Xia Tian, military training is over, your university life officially begins. A lot of things to arrange. Lin Fan didn't ask more, he'd know tonight anyway. He tossed his phone aside, grabbed the tablet, and began working. When someone works seriously, time flies. In a blink it was 6 p.m. Lu Ruyan and Wang Xidian almost simultaneously sent messages asking Lin Fan if he wanted to go out to eat. He declined both. He already had a big meal at lunch, tonight an apple would do. If you want to lose weight you must go all in, stop-go is too easy to rebound. During 2 weeks of military training, he successfully dropped his weight from 194 pounds to 181 pounds, a loss of 13 pounds. His BMI also dropped from 26 to early 24s. Without using an appearance card, his appearance rating also rose by 2 points, reaching 93. Once he gets his BMI down to around 20, he estimates his appearance could hit the max value 100. Lu Ruyan and Wang Xidian were already used to his refusals, so they weren't mad at all. Shortly thereafter they invited him to hang out tomorrow or the day after, but he refused again. After training for 2 weeks under the sun, their skin was tanned. Wang Xidian said she'd take Lin Fan for skincare. Lin Fan, tomorrow day I'll go to the company, later we'll see. Wang Xidian, also yeah, baby you signed the contract a long time ago, you haven't even been to the company yet. Then tomorrow I'll accompany you to your company. Lin Fan, not to Starshine Entertainment, but to my own company. Wang Xidian, Baby you started a company? Lin Fan, yes, I started a game company. Wang Xidian, wow. Baby so amazing. I want to go to your company too. Lin Fan, sure. If free later, we'll go to Starshine Entertainment together. I signed the contract and yet I haven't even been to the company. Wang Xidian, good. Lu Ruyan also invited Lin Fan out to play, but he refused. She didn't press too hard, she only reminded him to not work too hard and to rest. Having watched hundreds of dramas, she knew women shouldn't cling too much to guys, or else they easily get disliked. Lin Fan, tomorrow want to go to my company together? He suddenly remembered Lu Ruyan studied performance art. After coming out from his company, going to Starshine Entertainment, maybe there's a chance for Lu Ruyan to also sign with Starshine Entertainment. Lu Ruyan's family situation was only average, not too good. If she could sign with Starshine, not only would it reduce her financial burden, it would give her early exposure to the entertainment industry and lay the groundwork for her future acting career. Lu Ruyan got excited at Lin Fan's invitation. Can I come too? Lin Fan, of course you can, you are my woman. Lu Ruyan, MWO hubby your best. At 6:30, Lin Fan jogged to the art building. It got much cooler after dark, but after running nearly 2 kilometers, Lin Fan was still sweating quite a bit. When he arrived at classroom 305, most of the girls were already there. Lin Fan, sit here. Class President Chen Pingping waved at Lin Fan. Everyone in the class knew that Chen Pingping liked Lin Fan, but he had never responded to her feelings. No, I want to sit alone. Lin Fan walked straight to a seat by the window in the back row. Wang's hometown, that was his exclusive seat. Chen Pingping wasn't discouraged by Lin Fan's attitude. From the start, she knew that a super handsome guy like Lin Fan wasn't easy to chase. But she believed that as long as she kept at it and didn't give up, Lin Fan would definitely be moved. At 2 minutes to 7, Counselor Xia Tian walked into the classroom. Xia Tian went up to the podium and glanced around the room. Everyone should be here, right? I'll take attendance. As she spoke, Xia Tian picked up the roster and began calling names. There were too many students in the class, and she hadn't had much interaction with them over the past half-month, so she still couldn't match many names to faces. Of course, this didn't include Lin Fan. He was the only boy in the class, there was no way she could forget Lin Fan. Counselor Xia Tian called names one by one, with Lin Fan being the last. Very good, everyone's here. About tonight's meeting, there are a few things to cover. First is the election of class officers. The positions to be elected are Class President, Vice President, Study Committee Member, Discipline Committee Member, Arts Committee Member, Sports Committee Member, Publicity Committee Member, and Labor Committee Member. Counselor Xia Tian wrote the names of each position on the blackboard. As for subject representatives, those will be decided by each subject teacher. Now, anyone who wants to run for a class officer position, raise your hand and come up to say a few words and campaign for yourself. Schwa. 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 As soon as Xia Tian finished speaking, quite a few people raised their hands. There were about a dozen or so, while the rest just sat and watched quietly, showing no intention of running. Counselor Xia Tian looked at Lin Fan. Lin Fan, don't you want to be a class officer? Honestly, no one in the class is more suitable than you for study or arts committee member. The comics class belonged to the arts department, and their admission scores were much lower than other majors. But Lin Fan was this year's second highest scorer in the college entrance exam. His results far exceeded everyone else's. Lin Fan was an excellent singer and could even compose his own songs. In terms of arts, who could match him? Counselor, I have a lot going on. I really don't have time to be a class officer. Lin Fan shrugged. He had just started a game company, and later he'd also start animation, entertainment, film, and even tech companies. How could he have time for this? True. Counselor Xia Tian thought for a moment. It made sense. She also knew that Lin Fan had signed with Starshine Entertainment. Lin Fan would definitely be very busy in the future, so he really didn't have time to be a class officer. In that case, those who want to be class officers, come write your name next to the position you want. If more than one person chooses a position, the class will vote anonymously. Soon, after voting, all the class officer positions were filled. Class president and vice president remained Chen Pingping and Dong Xuexue. They had done a decent job over the past half-month. After the election, they moved on to miscellaneous matters. Explaining the rules for taking leave, the criteria for financial aid, school rules and regulations, and so on. Now there's one last thing. It's about the welcome party. In 2 weeks, the school will hold a welcome party to celebrate everyone joining the Royal Academy family. According to Royal Academy tradition, freshmen can also sign up to perform if they want. Performance types can include singing, dancing, crosstalk, skits, stage plays, etc. Anyone in our class want to perform? Xia Tian scanned the room. The girls were whispering among themselves, but no one stood up to sign up. But something like this wouldn't be decided so quickly anyway. Everyone think about it. If you want to perform, sign up with me within a week. I'll submit your names and programs. After speaking, Counselor Xia Tian looked at Lin Fan. Lin Fan, how about you sing a song on behalf of our comics class? I bet all the girls in school are looking forward to seeing you perform. Xia Tian said with a smile. She herself also wanted to see Lin Fan perform live. The 2 times Lin Fan sang before, she hadn't been there and only saw videos online. As the counselor of comics class, not seeing her own student perform live made her feel very regretful. Lin Fan scratched his head. Lin Fan. Sing one. Yeah. Lin Fan, go up and sing. We'll all be there to cheer you on. All the girls in the class started egging him on. Even when he sang casually, Lin Fan sounded amazing. If he performed on stage, wouldn't it be like a mini-concert? How could they miss that kind of chance? All right, sign me up then. Lin Fan nodded. Occasionally giving the harem some perks could attract more concubines to come closer to him. Counselor Xia Tian's eyes lit up. Great. Then Lin Fan, which song are you planning to sing? Unnecessary explanation? Or, if one day I become very rich? She could finally see Lin Fan perform live. The song's not decided yet. I'll see if I get any new inspiration in the next few days. Lin Fan thought for a moment. There were too many classic hits from his past life, he had to release them bit by bit, otherwise when would he ever finish singing them all? You're writing a new song again? Xia Tian was a bit excited. It hadn't been long, and Lin Fan was already going to write a new song. As a fan of Lin Fan, this was pure happiness. We'll see. If I'm inspired, I'll write a new one. He hadn't decided which song to choose yet. Okay. Lin Fan, let me know when you've decided. Oh right, when you write a new song, don't forget to register the copyright. If someone else snatches it, it'll be a hassle. Xia Tian reminded. I know. Lin Fan nodded. For his previous 2 songs, he hadn't thought to register the copyright right away, someone had actually tried to steal them. But the 5 sisters quickly stepped in, not only recovering the copyright but also sending the thief to jail. In the Empire, the royal family was that powerful. Now that he had signed with Starshine Entertainment, every song he wrote would have professionals handling copyright registration. Of course, all songs he wrote belonged to him. Even if other artists from the company wanted to sing them, they'd have to pay a copyright fee, though internal rates were cheaper than for outsiders. The class meeting ended around 9 o'clock. Back at the dorm, he took a shower and continued working. At exactly midnight, he lay down to sleep. At 8 a.m. the next day, Lu Ruyan and Wang Xidian both arrived early downstairs at Lin Fan's dorm to wait for him. However, Lu Ruyan stood under the shade of a tree, while Wang Xidian sat in her air-conditioned car, waiting for Lin Fan. Lin Fan was still washing up. Last night, he had agreed with Lu Ruyan and Wang Xidian to meet at 8:30. They would leave at 8:30 to go to the company and arrive by 9:30. In the morning, they would take a look around the company to see how the departments were doing. Games like Plants vs. Zombies and Angry Birds, whether the test versions had been made. As a transmigrator, he had to personally try them out. Although he had given the ideas, settings, and even concept art, the chances of the staff messing it up weren't high. But still, just in case. At 8:20, Lin Fan finished washing up, picked up his phone, and messaged Lu Ruyan and Wang Xidian to ask if they had arrived. He got replies almost instantly, both said they were already downstairs. Lin Fan scratched his head. They replied so fast, had they arrived a long time ago? Lin Fan took his phone and room card and left the room. As soon as he stepped out of the dorm building, he saw Lu Ruyan standing a few meters away under the tree. She was holding a box of milk and a tea egg in her hands. She knew that until his fat loss period ended, Lin Fan basically wouldn't eat anything else for breakfast. Lu Ruyan had been watching the dorm entrance the whole time. When she saw Lin Fan come out, she immediately ran over to him. "Darling. Ruyan, did you get here early?" Lin Fan took the milk and tea egg. Lu Ruyan smiled and shook her head. "Nope, I just got here a little while ago." Lin Fan knew she was lying. The tea egg wasn't even warm, clearly, she had been there for quite a while. But he didn't expose her lie. After all, in this world, it was normal for girls to arrive earlier than boys on a date. If the guy was late, that's when there'd be trouble. 10 meters away, the door of a red Panamera opened, and Wang Xidian got out of the car. She was also holding breakfast. But unlike Lu Ruyan, the breakfast Wang Xidian brought was much more. Soup dumplings, big buns, egg pancake, fried dough cake, fried dough sticks, savory pancakes, milk, yogurt. A whole big bag of breakfast. "Baby." Seeing Wang Xidian walk over, Lin Fan also took Lu Ruyan's hand and walked toward her. Tian, all this breakfast is for me?" Lin Fan looked at her strangely. Even if he weren't on a diet, he still couldn't eat that much. "I just wanted to give you more options," Wang Xidian smiled awkwardly. Lin Fan rolled his eyes at her. "Looks to me like you don't want me to lose weight." "Because baby, you don't need to lose weight, you're not fat." Wang Xidian immediately acted cute to coax him. She really didn't want Lin Fan to keep dieting. Lin Fan was already handsome, and after 2 weeks of dieting, his face had become even better looking. She was afraid that if this continued, countless more sisters would show up. The Daxia Empire did allow men to have multiple wives, but if her man really had many wives, the love she received would definitely be less. Even that would be fine. But if more girls prettier than her started chasing Lin Fan and he didn't choose her in the end, wouldn't she cry to death? So Wang Xidian felt that it was actually good for Lin Fan to be a little chubbier. It felt safer. Lin Fan peeled the tea egg in his hand, stuffed it whole into his mouth, chewed a few times, and swallowed it down with 2 gulps of milk. He then finished the rest of the milk in a few sips and casually threw the trash into a bin 3 meters away. "All right, let's go, to my company first." "Okay." The three returned to the car. Wang Xidian sat in the driver's seat, Lin Fan in the passenger seat, and Lu Ruyan had to sit in the back. "Baby, what's the company address?" Wang Xidian took out her phone. "Let me check." Lin Fan also pulled out his phone. He hadn't been to his own company yet. The 5 sisters had mentioned it to him before, but he didn't pay much attention. It seemed to be called Empire Building or something. Soon, Lin Fan found it in his history. Sure enough, it was Empire Building. 26th floor of Empire Building. Wang Xidian entered Empire Building into the map app, set up navigation, and put her phone on the mount. "Let's go." Lin Fan also sent a message to the 5 sisters, telling them he was on his way. About an hour later, Wang Xidian drove into the underground parking lot of Empire Building. The 3 took the elevator to the 26th floor together. Since it wasn't rush hour, the elevator was pretty fast. Arriving on the 26th floor, they stepped out and saw Lin Fan's company, Other Dimension. At the same time, they also saw the 5 sisters waiting at the front desk. When she saw Lin Fan at the entrance, Li Xiling immediately ran up and jumped into his arms. "Honey." After not seeing him for a few days, she felt like Lin Fan had gotten even more handsome. "Mua." The other 4 sisters also came to the company entrance. "Wives, did you miss me?" Lin Fan smiled at them. They hadn't seen each other for several days. "Li Siyu, of course we missed you." Li Sijin lifted her chin slightly. "Humph." Li Siji wore headphones and didn't speak, but her eyes stayed fixed on Lin Fan's handsome face. Lin Fan was really getting more and more handsome. Li Xiao blushed and nodded. "Missed you." The 2 front desk ladies looked on in shock. Everyone at the company knew there was another mysterious big boss, but no one knew who it was. Now, they finally saw him in person. Oh my god. The big boss is this handsome? This class is too lucky. If they could get the boss's favor, they'd be willing even to throw themselves at him. One of the receptionists, looking at Lin Fan's familiar face, grabbed her colleague's arm and shook it excitedly. Lin Fan. It's really Lin Fan. Our big boss is actually Lin Fan. Ah? I feel so happy I could faint, she kept whispering. If not for the last bit of rationality telling her to stay calm, or she might get fired, she would have already run over to ask Lin Fan for a photo and autograph. God knows how many times she had listened to the 2 songs Lin Fan sang these past few days. And she never got tired of them. Hello, sisters. Lu Ruyan politely greeted the 5 sisters. She kept a low profile. Lu Ruyan knew she was pretty, but that was all. Her family was average, with no background or connections. She couldn't help Lin Fan in his career. But the 5 sisters were different. Based on campus forum discussions, the 5 sisters were likely royal family members. Compared to them, she had no advantage, so she was fine being the small one. Hello, sisters. Wang Xidian also followed Lu Ruyan and greeted the 5 sisters. Wang Xidian had her own pride. Her mother was the chairwoman of the empire's largest entertainment company, and her father was the richest man in the empire. Of course, that title of richest excluded the royal family. But even so, her family's status in the Daxia Empire was beyond question. To ordinary people, she was absolutely unattainable. Take Lu Ruyan, for example. She didn't even consider Lu Ruyan a competitor. Lu Ruyan wasn't even worth her attention. Even if Lu Ruyan married Lin Fan in the future, her status would never be higher than hers. But the 5 sisters were different from Lu Ruyan. Others could only guess, but Wang Xidian knew, the 5 sisters were royal family members. And their family wasn't one of those who had distanced themselves from the royal court, but one of the current most powerful princes. Their mother was Princess Yan, Li Yunyao. As for how she knew this so clearly, of course it was because her brother got into trouble back then. Last year, her brother Wang Jiang enrolled in the Royal Academy, met the 5 sisters, and was instantly stunned by their beauty and the unique attribute of being quintuplets. Then her idiot brother started what he called pursuing them, but in reality, he was pestering them. At first, the 5 sisters clearly rejected her brother, but he didn't give up so easily. Being a boy, and the son of the richest man, her brother had hardly ever failed in love. Naturally, he wouldn't give up easily. But after pestering them for too long, the 5 sisters got annoyed. In the end, their family received a warning from a royal relative. Then her father took her brother and a gift, and personally went to Princess Yan's mansion to apologize. After they got back, her brother was beaten by their father so badly he couldn't sit for days. Everyone in the family was warned by their father to absolutely never offend the 5 sisters. It was said that because of her brother's incident, their family almost got purged. Luckily, her brother wasn't stupid. He had always used normal methods to pursue girls and never used any underhanded tricks. After all, this was the capital. If you threw a brick, you might hit an official. If you were unlucky and hit a royal family member, that would be a disaster. If her brother had used improper means to chase the 5 sisters, their family would definitely have been finished. Now that she was seeing the 5 sisters in person, Wang Xidian was naturally very respectful, even more so than Lu Ruyan. The 5 sisters all smiled and greeted Lu Ruyan and Wang Xidian. Before they came, Lin Fan had already told them about Lu Ruyan and Wang Xidian. Of course, they wouldn't act arrogantly just because they were from the royal family. They had received proper royal education. When interacting with civilians, they couldn't act arrogant. That would damage the royal family's reputation. Although the royal family's power was still supreme, in modern society, they also had to consider the feelings of ordinary people. Besides, Lu Ruyan and Wang Xidian were Lin Fan's women. If they showed attitude toward them, wouldn't that be the same as showing attitude toward Lin Fan? Alright, stop standing at the door. Give me a tour of the company. Honey, come with us. Li Xiling directly took Lin Fan's arm and walked into the company. She didn't care about any leader's image or whatever. She hadn't seen Lin Fan in days and missed him to death. Lin Fan followed the 5 sisters to visit each department of the company. While getting familiar with the environment, he was also introduced to each department manager. Lastly, he went on to inspect each game team's work. Among them, Fruit Ninja and Temple Run were both fully completed and currently in testing. Plants vs. Zombies, Angry Birds, and Machinarium had all produced demo levels. Plants vs. Zombies and Angry Birds had more levels done. Machinarium was progressing the slowest with the fewest levels. This was normal. After all, different games had different development difficulties. Fruit Ninja and Temple Run were mostly repetitive visuals. as long as the randomization algorithm was done well, it was fine. Plants vs. Zombies and Angry Birds mainly had many levels, but each level was relatively simple. Among the games Lin Fan provided, only Machinarium was a bit more complex. Lin Fan personally tested all 5 games one by one. All 5 games were very close to how they were in his previous life. After all, he had provided detailed game settings and key concept art. If the games still turned out very different, he would have to consider layoffs. Machinarium had the biggest difference. He only provided the main character and the art style. All level details had to be done by the development team, so the bigger difference was understandable. But after testing, the levels were still playable. After testing the 5 games, Lin Fan left a few more game ideas. They were Running Game, Match 3, and Dodiju, Landlord. Once those teams finished their current projects, they would start the new ones. The company had a cafeteria, with cheap prices, fresh ingredients, and good taste. In his past life, he had been a heavily exploited worker. In this life, as a boss, he wanted to be a boss with a conscience. Employee benefits had to be above industry standard. So at noon, Lin Fan had lunch in the cafeteria with everyone in the company. He had to check whether his requirements were being met. It turned out that his requirements had been well implemented. The variety of dishes in the cafeteria, whether in ingredients or taste, were all quite good. While eating, a girl mustered her courage and came over to their table. "Mr. Lin. I'm your fan. I really love your 2 songs. Can I take a photo with you?" the girl said shyly. She originally wanted to just call him Lin Fan, but remembering they were at work, she forced herself to say, "Mr. Lin." Lin Fan looked up at her and immediately recognized her. Wasn't she one of the 2 front desk girls? Both front desk girls at the company were quite pretty. Even though the 5 sisters hadn't introduced them, he still remembered them. "I remember you, you're the receptionist, right?" The receptionist girl got even more excited seeing Lin Fan remembered her. "Yes. My name is Gu Xiaoyan. I'm the receptionist. Ever since I saw your singing videos on Douyin, I've been your fan. I never dreamed you'd actually be my boss. If other Tonglin birds knew, they'd die of envy." Lin Fan looked puzzled. "Tonglin birds?" "Yes. That's the name of your fan group, Mr. Lin. I'm one of the Tonglin birds." Yixiuan smiled brightly. Almost all of Lin Fan's fans were wife fans. They all wanted to be his wife. When Lin Fan heard that Tonglin birds was his fan name, his expression turned strange. Married couples are like Tonglin birds. Then when disaster strikes, they fly their separate ways. Why did this fan name feel kind of unlucky? Lin Fan took a group photo with Gu Xiaoyan. Of course, it wasn't just with her alone, but with his wives, the company executives, and many employees behind them. It was a large group photo. It wasn't just for Gu Xiaoyan. Anyone else in the company who wanted it could download it from the company's internal website. "Gu Xiaoyan," Lin Fan called out. Gu Xiaoyan quickly responded, "President Lin. When you post on Moments or any other platform, add one more sentence. Just say, the name Tonglin bird doesn't sound good. Let's change it to Shoulin Run, Forest Guardians," Lin Fan said. Having his fans called Tonglin birds made him feel like he could be betrayed by his fans at any time. Tonglin bird doesn't sound good? I think it sounds quite nice. Gu Xiaoyan scratched her head. She had even participated in the discussion when the fan name was decided. Tonglin bird had received her vote too. It doesn't sound good. I don't like it. Lin Fan directly shook his head. Anyone who called themselves a Tonglin bird, he would absolutely not acknowledge them as his fan. He had enough confidence to be this willful. "I got it. From now on, I'm a forest guardian." Hearing that Lin Fan didn't like the name Tonglin bird, Gu Xiaoyan immediately changed sides. After all, she was a fan of Lin Fan. If she couldn't get his approval, then the name Tonglin bird was meaningless. Besides, Lin Fan was her big boss. If the big boss voiced his opinion and she didn't listen, and ended up being targeted or even fired, wouldn't she cry herself to death? She could chase idols while holding a relaxed, well-paid job. She knew how to weigh priorities. After lunch, the group took a nap in Lin Fan's CEO office. At 2 p.m., Lin Fan brought Lu Ruyan and Wang Xidian with him to Starshine Entertainment. The 5 sisters also came along. They came to support Lin Fan. If Starshine Entertainment treated Lin Fan poorly, they wouldn't let it slide. Also, Lin Fan said if time allowed in the afternoon, he might record the 2 songs he had sung before. Now that military training was over, the online versions of those 2 songs were still of him singing in uniform on the sports field. Online fans had been asking for a long time for him to re-record those 2 songs. Although his a cappella was good, it definitely couldn't compare to songs recorded in a studio. Not to mention the current online versions were all recorded by girls on their phones. The audio quality was even worse. The five sisters also wanted to be the first to hear how Lin Fan's song sounded in the studio. Half an hour later, the group arrived at Starshine Entertainment. As soon as they stepped out of the elevator, they saw the CEO of Starshine Entertainment, Jiang Yuyan, standing at the company entrance with others to greet them. On the way, Wang Xidian had sent a message to her mom, saying the quintuplet sisters would be coming with them. So Jiang Yuyan naturally had to be more welcoming. "Greetings, your highnesses," she said to the five princesses. "Huh? You know who we are?" Li Xiyu looked at Jiang Yuyan in surprise. Although the school forum had speculated that the five sisters were members of the royal family, it was only speculation. There was no real evidence to confirm they were. But looking at this mature career woman in front of them, she clearly knew their identities. In fact, Li Xiyu even felt that this woman probably knew their mother was Princess Yan. "Wang Jiang is my son," Jiang Yuyan said with a guilty expression. Wang Jiang was born to the second wife, while she was the third wife. But technically, she was also Wang Jiang's mother. "My son caused a lot of trouble for your highnesses. I am deeply ashamed," Jiang Yuyan apologized again. "Oh, that fat bastard." Li Xiling suddenly remembered who Wang Jiang was. "Xiling? That's too rude." Li Xiyu glared at her fourth sister. Who insults someone's son right in front of them? Humph, but it's true, Li Xiling was a bit defiant. That fat bastard had pestered them every day back then. He had driven her mad. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had their family step in to issue a warning. "What this princess said is right, my son really is a fat bastard," Jiang Yuyan quickly said. It was precisely because of that fat bastard Wang Jiang that their Wang family had almost been purged by the empire. That damn brat really was a fat bastard. The whole family used to spoil their only son, but ever since that incident, Wang Jiang's status at home had dropped sharply. The most obvious was financially. His monthly allowance used to have a cap of 100 million yuan. If he wanted more than that, he only had to submit a report. Which really just meant asking. The family would still give it. But after last year's incident, his father beat him so badly he couldn't sit for days and cut his monthly allowance. The former monthly limit of 100 million was now reduced to 5 million. Not a cent more. No reporting, nothing. Unless it was something extremely important, not a cent extra. Now his monthly pocket money was even less than his younger sister Wang Xitian's. Wang Jiang was much more low-key now. "Xidian, what's the deal with your brother?" Lin Fan asked Wang Xidian curiously. This seemed like a big scoop. "Baby, here's what happened," Wang Xidian briefly told Lin Fan about what had happened with her brother last year. "Baby, you're not mad at me, right?" Wang Xidian looked at Lin Fan, her eyes full of anxiety. She was worried Lin Fan might blame her for her brother's actions. "Silly girl, why would I be mad at you?" Lin Fan reached out and flicked her nose. "Your brother is your brother, you are you. Besides, your brother was just pursuing Siyu and the others in a normal way. It's really no big deal. The five sisters were so beautiful, it would be strange if no one pursued them. And Wang Jiang, being the son of the country's richest man and a top-tier second-generation rich kid, didn't even try dirty tricks on the sisters. That already counted as good upbringing." Lin Fan believed that the five sisters must have encountered shady people using underhanded tricks against them before. Quintuplets, and all stunningly beautiful, even if there weren't many guys, quite a few would be attracted to them. But Lin Fan was sure all those shady attempts had been blocked. After all, they were daughters of Princess Yan. "Lin Fan, Xidian is truly lucky to have met you. You're not only handsome and charming, but also generous and open-minded." Jiang Yuyan looked at Lin Fan with eyes full of affection, the gaze of a mother-in-law looking at her son-in-law. She was full of admiration. Judging by the situation, even though she didn't know which princess Lin Fan would end up with, he was clearly destined to become a son-in-law of Princess Yan. If he had held a grudge against her daughter Xidian over Wang Jiang's matter, or even against their whole Wang family, she would have cried her eyes out. Fortunately, Lin Fan seemed to be quite fond of her daughter. That must be her daughter's good fortune. Wow, it's Lin Fan in person. Lin Fan is really even more handsome than in the videos. Since Lin Fan signed with the company, he'll be coming here often, right? So happy. We'll get to see Lin Fan often now. I really want to start a CP, couple pairing, with Lin Fan. In your dreams. If anyone's starting one, it's me. My boobs are way bigger than yours. Damn. That big chest of yours. Must be breast hyperplasia. Jiang Yuyan personally led Lin Fan and the others around the company. Everywhere they went, many girls would gather around to watch. And quite a few of the girls were very good-looking, young and pretty, and with great figures. These were all trainees signed to Starshine Entertainment. If they weren't good-looking, they wouldn't have been signed. After the tour, Jiang Yuyan called over 5 people. Lin Fan, let me introduce them to you. These are the team members I've specially arranged for you. Jiang Yuyan looked at Lin Fan with a gentle expression. After speaking, she looked at the girls. All of you introduce yourselves. Yes, President Jiang. The middle-aged woman on the far left was the first to speak. Lin Fan, I'm Xia Ran, your manager. From now on, for any work or life matters, you can come to me. I'll help you plan and provide you with options. After Xia Ran finished, the young girl next to her spoke. Lin Fan, I'm Wu Xiaohe, your personal assistant. I'll be in charge of managing your daily tasks, on-site coordination and support, image and public relations, and daily life needs. From now on, I'll be by your side during work hours. After Wu Xiaohe spoke, the feminine-looking man beside her started. Lin Fan, I'm Su Xiaobei, your stylist and makeup artist. I'll be in charge of your styling and makeup. Su Xiaobei not only dressed femininely, but also spoke in a very effeminate tone. Lin Fan couldn't help but shiver. Sorry, Aunt Jiang, please help me find someone else. Lin Fan said directly. Xiaobei is the best stylist and makeup artist in the company. No one else is on his level in this area. Jiang Yuyan explained. She had personally selected the best team for Lin Fan. Whether he's the best or not doesn't matter. I don't want any men in my team. Lin Fan stated bluntly. Come on, he had learned his lesson in his past life. Bao Bao's example was known by everyone. His wife cheated with the agent, put a green hat on him, and even transferred his assets. If Bao Bao hadn't been upright and clean, he might have ended up in jail himself. Even though something like that was unlikely to happen to Lin Fan, he still didn't want any men in his team. Why have a man following him around every day instead of a beautiful woman? And a feminine man at that. He even suspected Su Xiaobei was gay. If he used his position to mess around, Lin Fan would be disgusted. He wasn't some scruffy bearded guy in white socks. Fine, I'll arrange someone else. Xiaobei, you can go. And call Xiao Lu here, Jiang Yuyan instructed Su Xiaobei. She didn't really understand Lin Fan's request. In the entertainment industry, whether male or female artists, they all preferred having male team members. Female artists hoped to have men around, preferably handsome men, so their needs could be met when necessary. Male artists also wanted men on their team to avoid scandals. But Lin Fan was the opposite. He didn't want men around him at all. Yes, President Lin, Su Xiaobei replied, reluctantly looked at Lin Fan a few more times, then twisted his waist and left. Lin Fan got goosebumps. He was now sure, this Su Xiaobei was definitely gay. That look in his eyes was way too familiar. Back in high school, several guys had looked at him like that. If he hadn't awakened memories of his past life in time, he might have been doomed in this life. Lastly, 2 young women in black suits spoke at the same time. Lin Fan, I'm Sulei. Elayena Fan, I'm Shuli. We are your bodyguards, responsible for your safety. Although he felt assigning him bodyguards was a bit much, Lin Fan didn't refuse. Even though he wasn't in the entertainment industry before, he knew that some fans could be crazy. Especially sightseeing fans, they'd do anything to chase stars. Like digging through the idol's trash, sneaking into their home to steal and collect their underwear, sending death threats, forbidding them from marrying. In the worst cases, fans even kidnapped idols and did extreme things. So having bodyguards was definitely a good idea. Even though he had light body techniques and amazing agility, making it nearly impossible for normal people to catch him, it was still better to have protection. You might not need bodyguards, but you can't go without them. If something extreme happened, having someone there to protect you was much better than facing it alone. Soon, another young girl came over. President Jiang. Lin Fan, this is Xiao Lu. She'll be responsible for your makeup and styling. No issues, right? Jiang Yuyan asked Lin Fan. Lin Fan smiled and nodded, no problem. Xiao Lu was not only a woman but also quite pretty. Among the 5 team members, her attractiveness was the only one that scored above 80. It was still early, so Lin Fan went ahead and used the company's recording studio to record the 2 songs he had sung before. At first, he just wanted the manager to take him to the studio. But President Jiang insisted on taking him personally. With his guitar and piano proficiency, Lin Fan's musical understanding was far beyond what it had been before. In the past, his knowledge of music theory was weak, just being able to remember the key was impressive. He had no idea how many instruments were involved in arranging a song. But now, he could do the arrangement himself just by memory. Plus, with his top-tier singing voice, recording was incredibly fast. Both songs were recorded in a single take. Then he recorded a second take, just in case. Outside the studio, everyone was amazed by Lin Fan's singing skills. 1 take, flawless, While not unheard of in the music world, Lin Fan was only 18. And he wasn't even studying music, he was a comic major. Lin Fan. With your musical talent, studying comics is such a waste. Why don't you transfer majors? If you face any difficulties, the company can help. Jiang Yuyan looked at Lin Fan excitedly. She'd found a treasure. With Lin Fan's talent, after some formal training, he could become a king of the music world in no time. Forget it. Music is just a hobby. I love comics more. In the evening, Lin Fan and the others left Starshine Entertainment. When they left, 2 more people followed behind Lin Fan, the bodyguard Su Lei and Su Li. From now on, they would follow Lin Fan every day to protect his safety. Of course, when Lin Fan was at school, they would keep a certain distance and try not to disturb his daily life. They would only protect him closely during work hours. Underground parking garage. Xiling, you guys head back first. I'll take Xitian's car to buy a bicycle, Lin Fan said to the 5 sisters. The Royal Vocational Technical College at Wadayaku was huge, with over 10,000 mu of land. The distance from the dorm to the Art Academy building where they had classes was nearly 2 kilometers. Right now, since he was still cutting fat, Lin Fan could run back and forth between classes every day. But once he lost most of the weight, he couldn't keep running to and from classes every day. That would be too tiring, and he'd get all sweaty. A bicycle was still necessary. There were shared bikes on campus, but their quality was average, and during peak class times, it wasn't guaranteed you could grab one. Since he didn't lack money, he might as well just buy a bike. The roads within the Royal Academy, and even all the roads in the capital, were smooth asphalt, making them perfect for road bikes. But Lin Fan thought it over and decided to buy a better mountain bike. Road bikes were fast, but their adaptability was poor. With a mountain bike, he could even ride downstairs. Road bikes could only ride on flat roads. Buy a bike? What bike? I have several. If you like one, just ride it, Li Xiyu said immediately. She liked sports and had plenty of gear. She had several road and mountain bikes, and each one was expensive, all top tier in the industry. Sure, are the bikes at your home? Lin Fan thought for a moment and didn't refuse. He wanted a bike just for commuting, to make going to class easier. It didn't have to be new. And given the sisters' status, the bikes they bought were definitely more high-end than any he'd buy himself. Second-hand from them might even be better than a new one. There are a few at home, and a few at school, Li Xiyu said. A road bike was only a few $100,000 at most. Mountain bikes were even cheaper, only around $100,000. To her, bikes that cost a few $100,000 were just toys. If she liked one, she'd buy it. Then I'll just pick one from the bikes you have at school, Lin Fan said. He didn't feel like going to their house to get it. It was hard to transport a bike in a car, and riding it back from their house would be too far. You'd need a car with a bike rack to transport it. It was better to just pick one of the bikes Li Xiyu had at school. He believed the bikes she kept at school were also high quality. Then I'll just go back to school tonight. Class starts the day after tomorrow anyway, Li Xiyu said. In that case, I'll head back too. Li Xiling immediately followed. School was starting soon anyway, so going back a day early didn't matter. Besides, how could she let the eldest sister return to school alone? Lin Fan could only choose one wife among the 5 sisters, she had to fight for her own happiness. I'll go too, Li Xiao added. School's starting soon. I should go back and clean the dorm, Li Xijin said, her eyes shifting. The other 4 sisters rolled their eyes at Li Xijin. Go back early to clean the dorm? As if they'd actually clean it themselves. It was fine to do small cleaning like sweeping and wiping the desk, but for full cleanups, they always hired cleaners. Still, they didn't expose Li Xijin's lie. They knew her tsundere personality well. I'll go back to school too, said Li Xiji softly, wearing headphones. With so many people returning, she didn't need to worry about someone making a move on Lin Fan first. But since her sisters were going, she didn't feel like going back to the palace either. Her parents were rarely home, and only servants were in the palace, she didn't feel like going back. Someone take me home for a bit? I want to drive my Suchi back to school, Lin Fan looked at everyone. Though he didn't need to drive to school, if he wanted to go out, he could just ask any wife to drive him. But that Suchi, which Li Xiji had already given to him, had been parked too long. Cars were fine when driven often, if they sat too long, they'd break down more easily. Take my car, it's comfy, Li Xiling offered. She had her business van driven over. The other sisters? They had all come in her van, while their own cars had been driven over by bodyguards. Their cars were either sedans, sports cars, or off-road SUVs, none were as comfortable as her big reclining seats. Naturally, the other 4 sisters didn't object. In the end, Just like when they came, the 5 sisters and Lin Fan rode in one car to take him home to get his car. As for Wang Xidian and Lu Ruyan, they stood silently nearby and didn't say anything. Wang Xidian didn't dare argue with the 5 sisters. Lu Ruyan didn't even have a car, she had no right to speak. In the end, the 5 sisters accompanied Lin Fan home, while Lu Ruyan took Wang Xitian's car back to school. Back at the neighborhood, Lin Fan didn't even go inside, he just drove the car and followed the sisters back to school. Lin Fan, are you hungry? It was already past 7 p.m., and it was getting dark, but they hadn't eaten dinner yet. You guys go eat. I'll just have an apple tonight. He had eaten a lot at lunch, so he couldn't eat too much at dinner. The 5 sisters knew Lin Fan was still dieting, so they didn't insist. They went to dinner, while Lin Fan parked the car at the dorm building and returned to his dorm to continue drawing the unfinished comic. 11 p.m., Yen Palace. Li Yunyao returned home to find that all 5 daughters were not there. The palace had no curfew, but it was rare for all 5 sisters to be out so late at once. The first person Li Yunyao thought of was Lin Fan. She called for the butler. Where did Siyu and the others go? Li Yunyao asked. Your Highness, please wait. I'll ask, the housekeeper said and left. Li Yunyao leaned into the soft sofa, enjoying a head massage from the house's dedicated masseuse. Another servant brought her fresh fruit and warm milk. Li Yunyao closed her eyes, mentally calculating how long her 5 daughters had known Lin Fan. It had been more than 20 days since they met. According to Daxia Empire regulations, when a man and woman meet through the marriage app, they can have up to 1 month of interaction to understand each other and build feelings. After that month, they must make a decision, either marry or separate. More than 20 days was not a short time. Lin Fan should make a decision soon. Before the 1-month period was up, if Lin Fan chose reject, there was still room to turn things around. But if the month ended with no choice made, or Lin Fan chose reject, then it would be someone else's turn. At that moment, the butler came back. Your Highness, the princesses spent the entire day with Lin Fan. In the morning, the female butler began to report the 5 sisters' entire schedule to Li Yunyao. Li Yunyao picked up her phone and dialed a number. In just a few seconds, the call connected. Mother. Tomorrow morning, bring Lin Fan back here. I want to meet him. The private chat group of the 5 Li Siyu sisters. Siyu, Mom just called me and told us to bring Lin Fan home tomorrow morning. She wants to meet him. Siling, huh? Mom wants to meet Lin Fan now? Why? Sijin, is Mom angry? Siji, we're doomed. It must be because Lin Fan is too greedy and wants to choose all 5 of us, which made Mom angry. Xiao, what should we do? If Mom gets angry, Lin Fan will be in trouble. Siyu, the only solution now is for Lin Fan to make a decision quickly. Siling, right. As long as Lin Fan makes a choice, when he meets Mom tomorrow, she probably won't do anything to him. Siji, I wonder if Lin Fan's asleep. Xiao, even if he is, we have to wake him up. This can't be delayed. Siling, I'll call him. Boys' dormitory. Lin Fan walked into the bathroom with his phone, turned on some music, set the phone aside, took off his clothes, and started washing up and showering. While showering, he was humming a tune. Suddenly, the music stopped and switched to another song. Lin Fan paused, then realized it was his ringtone, someone was calling him. At this time of night, who could it be? He wiped his hands with a towel and picked up the phone. The caller ID showed it was Siling. Lin Fan looked puzzled. Why would Siling call this late? Could it be she wanted to go out with him to get a room? But just getting Siling alone wouldn't work. He had to get all 5 sisters at once. Otherwise, there was no way to bring all 5 into his harem. Siling baby, you already miss me after just a little while? Lin Fan said with a smile. Honey. As soon as Li Siling spoke, Lin Fan noticed something was off in her tone. Hesitation, uneasiness, worry. These were the emotions that came through in her voice. What's wrong? Did something happen? Lin Fan asked with concern. Since they met, Li Siling had never shown this kind of emotion in front of him. Something big must have happened this time. My mom wants to meet you, Li Siling said softly. Then let's meet. I was going to meet her sooner or later anyway. Lin Fan was a bit surprised but had already mentally prepared for it. The Princess Yen arranged for her 5 daughters to date him at the same time. Before a final decision, she'd definitely want to meet him. When he went home with Li Siji to play games all day, he thought he'd meet the princess then. But she wasn't even home, only servants were there. He thought he'd have to wait until the 1-month deadline was up and he made a choice before he could meet her. Didn't expect she wanted to meet him before the month was over. But marriage meant he had to meet his mother-in-law eventually. Sooner or later, it had to happen. Lin Fan, about the 5 of us, have you decided who to choose? Li Xiling asked hesitantly. Of course, she hoped Lin Fan would choose her, but she was also afraid that the name he said wouldn't be hers. What, I have to choose someone before I can meet your mother? Lin Fan asked, confused. The month isn't even over, and Princess Yan is already rushing him to make a decision? Mom suddenly wanting to meet you caught us off guard. We think it might be because you still haven't made a choice, and it made her angry. So we thought maybe you could decide quickly. That way, when we take you to see her tomorrow, she wouldn't be too angry and cause. What, your mom would lock me up over this? Is my future mother-in-law that unreasonable? No. Li Xiling quickly explained. Mom isn't unreasonable. She's just normally very strict and serious with us. Then what's there to be afraid of? The Empire's law says that after a match on the marriage app, couples have 1 month to get to know each other. I didn't break any rules. My future mother-in-law can't punish me for that, right? But, Li Xiling still wanted to say more, but Lin Fan didn't give her the chance. All right. Since she raised 5 such outstanding daughters, I'm sure she's a reasonable person. I'm still showering. After that, I'm going to sleep. You guys rest early too. Just come pick me up tomorrow when it's time. Honey. Seeing that Lin Fan was about to hang up, Li Xiling quickly said, when you come with us tomorrow, make sure not to say anything wrong. Mom is very serious and doesn't like jokes. Okay, got it. Good night. Lin Fan hung up, then stepped back under the shower, letting the cold water run over his body. Even though he spoke lightly on the phone, he wasn't as relaxed as he sounded. His original plan was to find a chance to take all 5 sisters at once before the 1-month deadline. That way, Princess Yan would have no choice but to marry all 5 daughters to him. But things hadn't gone as planned. When the sisters were alone, they were willing to have something happen with him, because it would mean he had chosen them. But if all 5 were together, none of them agreed. He thought it was because the feelings weren't strong enough yet, but now it seemed it was Princess Yan's authority that made them afraid to go against their mother. So was there another way to marry all 5 sisters at once? Or would he ultimately have to choose only one? Only choosing one, Lin Fan was definitely not willing. But how could he choose all 5? After thinking it over, Lin Fan felt there was only one solution: deal with Princess Yan. The 5 sisters didn't dare disobey their mother. If he could handle Princess Yan, then everything else would fall into place. Lin Fan turned off the water, dried himself with a towel, blew his hair dry, then climbed into bed. He had originally planned to work until midnight, but now he had no mood to draw comics. Lin Fan had to seriously think about how to handle the Princess Yan he hadn't even met yet. He took out his phone and searched online for information about her, hoping to find something useful. But in the end, he could only put the phone down in disappointment. There was info on Princess Yan, but none of it was useful. Only stuff like when she became a princess, what school she went to, what job she held, etc. Nothing personal at all. Too bad Lin Fan didn't know any hacking skills, otherwise, he could have hacked into the school network she once attended to search for clues. For now, he could only wait and adapt when he saw her tomorrow. After hanging up the phone, Li Xiling relayed Lin Fan's words in the group chat. Everyone worried but felt powerless. See you, how come this idiot still hasn't chosen yet? CG, Lin Fan wouldn't really be naive enough to think he can marry all 5 of us at once, would he? Jean, if Mom really gets angry, I will not plead for this big idiot. Xiao, Lin Fan is just trying not to disappoint any one of us? Xiling, big idiot. Big idiot. Xiling, tomorrow we must watch him well, he mustn't speak foolishly in front of Mom. See you, indeed. If Mom really gets angry, that idiot is done for. Because tomorrow they had to bring Lin Fan home to meet their mother, the 5 sisters couldn't sleep at all that night. They were worried Lin Fan might say something foolish tomorrow. Their mother wasn't like them, she wasn't so easy to deal with. Boys' dormitory. Lin Fan lay in bed, thinking for over half an hour, then slowly fell asleep. He figured it out. The worst-case scenario couldn't be that bad. He had the system, as long as he gave himself time, there was nothing he couldn't handle. Early the next morning, the 5 sisters, all with panda eyes, came down to the boys' dormitory. Lin Fan came down and saw their condition and was startled. You didn't spend the whole night awake, did you? The 5 sisters' dark circles were almost panda level. Couldn't sleep at all. Honey, please don't speak nonsense when we go home later, okay? I don't want you to get hurt. Lin Fan, just hurry up and say which one of us sisters you're choosing. The 5 sisters spoke one after another. Oh dear, what's the difference between choosing now and choosing after seeing Mom later? With Princess Yan's status, she clearly knows everything. And with how you guys look right now, it's like Princess Yan is a tigress, aren't you afraid she'll get angry? Lin Fan still hadn't made a choice. Princess Yen only wanted to meet him, it didn't necessarily mean she was coming to punish anything. That was just the sisters' speculation. As for making a choice among the 5 sisters? He wasn't worried. Originally it was Princess Yen who insisted on him as a son-in-law, not him scrambling to be her son-in-law. There's no need for last-minute panic. Let's just go, he thought. Breakfast in the cafeteria was simple, then they sat in Li Xiling's business van and headed to the Yen Royal Mansion. Yen Royal Mansion. Li Yunyao got up early. After freshening up with the house staff's assistance, she quietly sat at the dining table to enjoy breakfast cooked by the household chef. Breakfast was ordinary: buns, steamed dumplings, soybean milk, fried egg, etc. But the ingredients were royal supply. Everything was pure, pollution-free, no chemical fertilizers or pesticides, organic food. Li Yunyao didn't eat much, just 2 bites of each, stopped at half full. Is the intelligence on Lin Fan ready? Your Highness. It is all ready. The butler briskly but not hurriedly opened the tablet and handed it to Li Yunyao. Li Yunyao received the tablet. From when Lin Fan began the matchmaking with the 5 sisters until now, all his movements in these 20-plus days had been compiled into a PPT. Dating the 5 sisters, going into a hotel with Lu Ruyan, the performance during military training, the 2 songs sung during training, the company they created with the sisters' help, the company's situation, the 2 songs Lin Fan re-recorded, and so on. Li Yunyao clicked a song as background music, then patiently reviewed the entire PPT. Soon Li Yunyao finished the whole PPT. She had some doubts. From the photos in the PPT, Lin Fan seemed to be getting more handsome. Was it because of the weight loss? As a royal member, Li Yunyao had seen many handsome men. When she got married, she had chosen the best-looking among many talented young men. But she had to admit, Lin Fan's face was the best she had ever seen. No wonder he could mesmerize her 5 daughters. Her 5 daughters, from initial unwillingness to now being emotionally and physically all on Lin Fan. Looking at the information in the PPT, many points about Lin Fan made Li Yunyao quite pleased. Having the awareness to lose weight and persisting in it. That undefeated character during military training, and strong will. Also a smart mind. Becoming this year's 2nd place in the entrance exam already showed his high IQ. The only regret Li Yunyao had was that Lin Fan's talent seemed to be in music. If his talent had been in management, finance, business, she would have been more satisfied. But it didn't matter. What mattered most was his genes. As long as he could marry her daughter, produce a son, and pass on his genes, that was enough. As for talents in finance, business, management, those were just extra. Just seeing how Lin Fan treated her 5 daughters, Li Yunyao slightly frowned. From the PPT, Lin Fan wasn't satisfied with choosing one of the 5, he wanted to take all 5 of her daughters at once. Quite greedy. 9:30. Lin Fan drove Li Xiling's van into the Yen Royal Mansion. The Yen Royal Mansion was large. North-south over 300 meters, east-west over 150 meters, a compound garden-style building. The southern 2/3 was the residence area, traditional Beijing courtyard style. The northern 1/3 was the back garden, southern garden-style architecture. The car entered the mansion parking lot. After getting out, Lin Fan followed the 5 sisters to meet the legend of Princess Yen. Back garden, Lotus Heart Pavilion. Your Highness, the princesses and Lin Fan have arrived and are just outside, the butler respectfully said. Understood. Li Yunyao lazily reclined on the sofa, no thought to image. The butler didn't say anything else, quietly stepped aside to wait. Soon, the 5 sisters brought Lin Fan to the outside of the Lotus Heart Pavilion. Mom, we brought Lin Fan back, Li Xiu said, standing at the door with everyone and calling into the house. In modern times, even the royal family, many customs had changed. In the past they would call father, mother, but now in everyday situations, they just say mom and dad like ordinary people, only on formal occasions do they use father and mother. Comin. A voice from inside. Lin Fan raised an eyebrow. That voice was Princess Yan's? It didn't sound as stern as the sisters said. Instead it felt relaxed. Li Xiling tugged Lin Fan's arm and whispered, "Honey, when you see my mom later, don't say anything wrong." Lin Fan gave her a reassuring glance, then followed the 5 sisters into the pavilion. Seeing the young woman in a longhouse dress, reclining on the sofa eating lychees, Lin Fan was a bit stunned. Wait, this is Princess Yen? At home so casual? If only the 5 sisters had come back, okay. But he was the one Princess Yen called. He was present, yet she was so casual? Did she not take him seriously? Or did she not consider himself an outsider? Lin Fan followed the 5 sisters into the lakeside pavilion. The air outside was hot and dry, but inside the lakeside pavilion it was very cool. The air conditioning was running strong. As Lin Fan was appraising Li Yunyao was likewise appraising Lin Fan. Quite a handsome young man, in person he looked even more handsome than in the photos. Face like polished jade, sword brow, star eyes, bright gaze and white teeth, even those adjectives weren't enough to describe his looks. Even though at 38 years old she had seen many rich, high-ranking, handsome men, when she saw Lin Fan she couldn't help but feel a liking for him. No wonder he was one of the most outstanding genes. "Mom, we've come back." The 5 sisters spoke together. "Greetings, Your Highness the Yanwang." Lin Fan also nodded slightly at Li Yunyao, who was lazily reclined on the sofa. In the Daxia Empire, kneeling ceremonies weren't popular, no need to bow 90 degrees like some adjacent vassal states to show respect. Kneeling still existed, but only in grand ancestral rites or offerings. Of course, in some regions folks still used it for elders. "Have a seat. Consider this your home, no need to hold back," Li Yunyao said calmly. Lin Fan must become a person of her Yanwang mansion, that had been decided since Lin Fan's birth. If she didn't want Lin Fan, her sisters would not be polite to her. "Thank you, Your Highness," Lin Fan said and sat on the sofa by the Yanwang's feet. Li Xiling and Li Siyu quickly sat down next to him, the other 3 sisters sat opposite them. "Lin Fan, do you know why I asked Siyu and the others to bring you home this time?" Li Yunyao slowly peeled a lychee, her slender pale fingers holding the translucent fruit, placing it into her mouth. "I don't know, Your Highness. Please enlighten me." Lin Fan shook his head. Though the 5 sisters had guesses, they were just guesses, not necessarily the Yanwang's idea. People in high positions rarely like their thoughts guessed. Take Yang Xiu, who always guessed Cao Cao's mind, and ended up executed. So even if he guessed, he acted like he didn't know. When Lin Fan said he didn't know, Li Yunyao did not get angry. Spitting out the lychee pit, she then said slowly, "You've been with Siyu and the others for over 20 days, have you decided who you'll choose?" Before Lin Fan could speak, Li Siyu and Li Xiling seated next to him quickly tugged his clothes quietly, signaling him not to speak carelessly. Before, in front of them, he could say he wanted them all, no problem. Now, in front of their mother, he couldn't say that. "Must I choose just one?" Lin Fan didn't heed their signals. Though he didn't know the reason, since the Yanwang personally arranged for her 5 daughters to go on dates with him and said that one of them must marry him. That showed he had some special trait the Yanwang valued. If so, it wasn't too much to negotiate terms, right? Surely the Yanwang wouldn't lock him up just because he wanted to marry all 5 daughters. He only had the idea, and hadn't yet taken all 5. Even if he did take all 5, the Yanwang still couldn't use that as excuse to sentence him. In the Daxia Empire, forcing a man against his will into sexual relations is rape. For a woman, well, usually at worst it's indecent assault, not rape. In this world, most countries are like that. Men are too few, men are the disadvantaged group. Even for indecent assault, at worst 10 years, not death. So Lin Fan wasn't worried at all. What he was doing had no reason for the Yanwang to act against him, unless she was unreasonable. Li Yunyao didn't directly answer, she asked another question. "Lin Fan, do you know that in Daxia's history, for over 50 years no one has successfully married 2 royal family members at once?" Lin Fan knew what she meant. But the Empire's laws don't say one cannot marry 2 royal family members at once, do they? Lin Fan asked back. It hadn't happened in 50 years, but 50 years ago there were many such cases. Since precedent existed, and there is no law forbidding it, that means it's allowed, right? When the 5 sisters heard Lin Fan speak, each grew extremely nervous. Next to him, Li Siyu and Li Xiling nearly tore his clothes. But Lin Fan ignored them. "You're right. The Empire indeed has no such law, but it's become an unspoken rule of the royal family. I don't intend to break that unspoken rule. So, Lin Fan, name your choice. My 5 beloved daughters, who would you like to marry?" Li Yunyao's tone remained calm, nothing in it revealed anger. "Siyu, Sijin, Xiao, Xiling, Xiao, I don't want to give up any of you. I want you all," Lin Fan said seriously, looking at Li Yunyao. He was betting. Betting that the Yanwang wouldn't punish him for this, and also betting on her bottom line. What if the trait she valued was so important that she would marry all 5 daughters to him? If he won, he could marry all 5. If he lost, worst case, the Yanwang charges him with some crime. After all, he never broke laws from childhood, unless framed, he wouldn't be locked up for long. If the Yanwang really used this as an excuse to lock him away, then he might as well be Huang Chao. With the system, give himself time, build walls, stock food, slowly declare king, he might even strike into the capital. Li Yunyao offered no response, she just quietly peeled lychees. Lin Fan wasn't worried, he waited calmly for her response. The 5 sisters, however, were in a panic. Their earlier warnings, Lin Fan heard them but didn't act accordingly. Lin Fan. Don't flatter yourself. Who said any of us want to marry you? I'll tell you the truth, from the start I didn't like you. Li Sijin suddenly stood and shouted. Li Xiling slid from the sofa and knelt. Mother. Lin Fan is just too nervous, that's why he babbles. Mother, please don't take it personally. Bang bang bang. Li Xiu, Li Xiao knelt one after another. Mother, Lin Fan had no ill intention. Don't hold it against him. The five sisters' behavior all touched Lin Fan deeply. Even when Li Sijin suddenly stood up and loudly said she didn't like him at all, Lin Fan was still moved. Because he knew Li Sijin was just that kind of tsundere. Even when she wants to protect him, she uses that special way of hers. So, afraid I'll have your little lover arrested? Li Yunyao asked calmly. The five sisters all kept their heads bowed and didn't dare speak. Li Yunyao was usually very busy. After giving birth to them, she rested a few months then returned to work. They five daughters were largely raised by wet nurses. Once they matured a bit, when Li Yunyao returned home she didn't get close with them, instead she randomly checked their homework and strictly demanded from all sides. So in their hearts, Li Yunyao had always been a very strict figure. They rarely dared to act sweet in front of her. Now feeling that their mother seemed angry, they naturally dared even less to talk back. But the four kneeling on the ground did not stand up. The one who had been standing, Li Sijin, upon hearing her mother's question also knelt down. Li Yunyao didn't further address her five daughters, but looked at Lin Fan. If I only give you two choices, 1. Pick one from these five to marry, 2. Be stripped of all social benefits in the Daxia Empire. Which will you choose? Lin Fan didn't make a choice, but silently looked straight into Li Yunyao's eyes. To be honest, the choice Li Yunyao offered surprised him. He expected she might say if he didn't choose she would send him to prison. Instead, she merely said he would lose all social benefits? Li Yunyao seemed rather kind. But to force him to pick just one, he couldn't do it. Since he's going to bet, he'll bet all the way. Honey. Hurry up and make your choice. Li Xiling tugged at Lin Fan's pants leg, whispering anxiously. Lin Fan. Stop being stubborn, make your choice quickly. Li Xiu also urgently urged. I can't give up any one of them. Lin Fan gazed at Li Yunyao slowly and spoke. Li Yunyao's gaze remained calm, like still water. Is that so? After a moment, Li Yunyao raised her slender arm and waved her hand. I'm tired. You all leave now. Butler, prepare the lunch a bit more lavishly, do not neglect guests. Yes, Your Highness. Only then did the five sisters slowly stand. Mom, we'll head out. Lin Fan also stood and gave a slight nod to Li Yunyao, then followed the five sisters out. Upon leaving the lakeside pavilion, the five sisters immediately surrounded Lin Fan. You're just a big idiot. I told you not to talk nonsense, why didn't you listen? Aren't you afraid my mom really sends you to prison? Li Sijin glared angrily at Lin Fan. God knows how nervous she had been just now. She was afraid mom might call someone and have Lin Fan arrested. Then they'd all be stuck. Baby, you shouldn't be so stubborn. Li Xiu looked at Lin Fan with a complex expression. Li Xiling hugged Lin Fan's arm. Honey, why don't you listen? If mom punishes you, what do I do? Seeing the sisters so worried, Lin Fan felt some pity. But there was no way, he could not pick one among them, then watch the other four marry other men. If that happened, he'd rather leave the capital, even leave the Daxia Empire. Then using his system and memories from his previous life, build high walls, stock large supplies, and slowly proclaim king, eventually overthrow the Li imperial dynasty. If I can't get into the capital, then I'll break into it. Lin Fan looked up at the sky, the glaring sunlight hitting his eyes, tears immediately flowing down. If I have to give up any one of you, I can't. Honey, Li Xiling, seeing Lin Fan actually crying, hugged his arm tighter. Baby. The other four sisters also looked at Lin Fan with complicated expressions. So it turned out, they were so important to Lin Fan? If mom ultimately still disapproves, then I'll abandon royal status and elope with you, baby. Li Xiu clenched her teeth, eyes firm as she looked at Lin Fan. Me too. I'll elope with you, honey. Li Xiling also spoke. Count me in. We'll elope, should be quite fun. Okay, me too. Just don't get me wrong, I'm not doing it because I like you, I just can't bear to see everyone else. Li Sijin remained her usual tsundere self. Lin Fan raised his hands and pulled Xiling and Xiao into his arms. Wife such as you, what more could I ask for? He too hadn't expected that the five sisters, for his sake, would be willing to give up royal status. Although he knew giving up royal status wasn't simple, the fact they even considered it already moved him. Leaving the lakeside pavilion, Lin Fan did not leave the royal mansion. The Yan Wang had told the butler that Lin Fan must not leave. The 5 daughters brought him to the east courtyard. All the entertainment rooms were set there: gym, audio-video room, game room, water bar, etc. The 6 stayed in the water bar, drinking and confiding. The 5 sisters were already planning, if their mother didn't allow them to be with Lin Fan, how would they elope with him? Given the royal family's power, unless they hid in some desolate mountain forest, even in a small county or township, the royal family could find them in an hour. To elope with Lin Fan, they'd have to leave the Daxia Empire, go to a country not friendly with Daxia, e.g., American. Once in American, at least they wouldn't worry their mother using royal power to have them found and sent back to Daxia. The wine made them a bit tipsy, and they wanted to sing. Luckily there was a piano in the water bar. Dear wives, I promised to give each of you a song. Now inspiration has come, I'll sing it for you. Lin Fan got up and walked toward the piano not far away. While we'll hear Honey singing again, Li Xiling was also a bit drunk. Baby, go for it. Li Siji silently took out her phone and started recording video. This was Lin Fan's song for them, must record it and treasure it. Lin Fan sat on the piano bench, opened the keyboard cover, and unconsciously tested the tuning. The piano sounded very good, and intonation was precise. Clearly this piano was expensive and well maintained. Lin Fan's 10 fingers flew over the keyboard keys and a pleasant piano melody started. On the Seines bank, on the left bank's cafe. With a glass in my hand, savoring your beauty. Leaving a lip print mouth. Oh, creating a romantic date. Not afraid of messing up everything. Having you means having the whole world? After Lin Fan and the 5 daughters left, Li Yuniao also drove away the steward who had been guarding her. She lay on the sofa alone, somewhat worried. She had not expected that Lin Fan would be not only greedy, but also so stubborn. He would rather be deprived of the empire's social welfare than give up his 5 daughters. This was very troubling. In Li Yuniao's mind, the plan that the royal family had been carrying out for nearly 100 years inevitably came to the fore. That was the royal family revitalization plan. More than 100 years ago, a virus brought by a meteor shower led to a rapid decline in the birth rate of human boys. At first, humanity did not discover the fundamental reason for the declining male birth rate. By the time it was discovered and a method of control found, it was already too late. The male birth rate was already frighteningly low. Especially in the royal family. Her great-grandfather had reigned for more than 30 years, sired more than 70 children, and yet they were all daughters, not a single son. In the end there was no choice but to pass the throne to the eldest princess. The probability that other royal members gave birth to male infants was also extremely low, far below 10%, overall possibly only 1%. When her great-grandfather was still alive, the royal family revitalization plan began. That was the research into how to successfully give birth to a boy. And this plan had already started during the more than 10 years of her great-grandfather's rule. Until he died, it still had not succeeded. Later her grandmother ascended the throne, and the plan continued. Before her great-grandfather passed away, he left a dying injunction. One clause of that injunction was, if the royal lineage bears no male, then the throne and the titles pass to the eldest daughter. If a male is born, then the eldest son inherits the throne and titles. And when the eldest son inherits the titles, the rank of the titles should not be downgraded. According to the previous succession system of the Great Xia Empire, all titles upon inheritance, the eldest son was downgraded 1 level, and other offspring were downgraded 2 levels. For example, the prince's eldest son becomes a June prince, the others become dukes. The June prince's eldest son becomes a duke, the others become June dukes. The duke's eldest son becomes a June duke, the others become county dukes. June duke, county duke's eldest son becomes a county duke, the others become commoners. County duke was the lowest title, and all offspring then become ordinary commoners. This was to prevent the royal family from becoming too large, which would bring a huge burden to the royal family and the empire. And having this ancestral injunction meant that these royal members of theirs had the possibility of eternal kingship. And the prerequisite was that they could give birth to a male infant. But in fact the number of royal members who successfully inherited the title intact was extremely few. Because there was another clause in the injunction, that only those who had royal blood counted as royal members, and only they had the right to inherit titles. Because in the Great Xia Empire, imperial son-in-law, Fuma, had always been allowed to take concubines. The princess marries a man, the man becomes of Fuma. If the Fuma then takes concubines, even if he gives birth to a boy, that boy still has no royal blood at all. And in order to prevent the royal family from being seized by outsiders, the retired emperor set this injunction. But a woman carries for 10 months, can only conceive once a year, and even if she kept giving birth all her life, the number of children would not be too many. So the chance of giving birth to a boy would not increase either. To raise the probability of giving birth to a boy, the only method was to find the genetic problem. The Royal Family Revitalization Plan was researching this issue. But the research team used sperm from the Empire's sperm bank for decades and there was no progress. Until more than 40 years ago the research team finally made a major discovery. In the Y chromosome that determines sex, there was a mysterious gene segment. This gene segment, at the time the fertilized egg implants, would randomly disappear. Once this mysterious gene segment disappeared, the fertilized egg could not continue to grow and develop, and eventually became an inactive embryo. This mysterious gene was named Tongzi. Once Tongzi disappears, you cannot give birth to a boy. According to the research, the probability that this gene segment disappears at the time of egg implantation is about 90%. This then caused the probability of a male infant being conceived to be extremely low. After long-term research, the research team did not find out the reason why the Tongzi gene disappeared. Then after a long period of further research, the team discovered that if after embryo transplant into the mother's body, gamma-ray irradiation of the embryo could fix the Tongzi gene so that it would not disappear at implantation. But the fertilized egg would most likely be damaged, and in subsequent growth and development, unknown pathologies would appear. And because of the gamma-ray irradiation, the pregnant woman would also suffer varying degrees of damage. Weakened constitution, cancerous transformation, sudden death, etc. Such a severely flawed method naturally could not be used on the royal family. In the following 20 years, every year about 1,000 women signed contracts with the research team, received $500,000 in nutrition fees, and voluntarily cooperated with the experiments. But each year, there were fewer than 100 healthy male infants born. And of those fewer than 100 healthy male infants, most developed cancer, or had physical deformities, or had low intelligence in their growth process. Only about 5 to 10 male infants could grow up healthily. These male infants who grew up healthily all had relatively high IQs. However, these boys who grew up healthily had a high probability of disliking females, that is, homosexuality. Less than half were completely normal boys. They were called children of heaven's choice by the research team. These children of heaven's choice have always been under observation by the research team. They married and had children. Then the research team found these children of heaven's choice had a greatly increased probability of giving birth to male infants. From less than 10%, directly raised to nearly 50%, that is, almost the same probability as before the meteor shower. And their descendants also had no health problems, deformity, cancer probabilities did not rise, IQ level returned to the ordinary standard. 20 years ago, the Directorate of Clan Affairs began arranging that some collateral royal family members, that is, the sisters of the Empress, began marrying those children of heaven's choice. A new problem emerged. In the royal family the birth rate of male infants had dropped, about only 20 to 30%, nearly half lower than ordinary people. However, this birth rate was already much better than before. A few years ago, the first batch of children of the children of heaven's choice grew up and also began to marry and have children. Then the research team found the probability of their giving birth to male infants dropped again to about 10%. And the princes born to the children of heaven's choice also became, as before, almost unable to give birth to male infants. The only good news was, their descendants remained healthy, the probability of deformity or cancer had not increased. The bad news was, for the royal family to revitalize, there were only two roads to go. That was to join with the children of heaven's choice who were irradiated with gamma rays and grew up healthy. Or, to irradiate the royal consorts with gamma rays. In recent years, the Directorate of Clan Affairs has been considering whether to take the second path, but has not made a decision. 3 years ago, the Directorate decided to arrange that the direct line royal members, that is the sisters of the Empress, begin to execute the first scheme. That is to let the daughters of the princes go and match with the children of heaven's choice. But over these 7 or 8 years, there were very few healthy children, only 3 or 5. The number of people who became children of heaven's choice was even fewer, only 1 or 2. In the past 3 years, each year there was only one child of heaven's choice. Thus the year before last it was the Prince of Guiqin's turn, last year the Prince of Guiqin's turn, this year finally it's her turn, the Prince of Yen. Moreover last year Li Yunyao was extremely nervous, because Lin Fan's batch only had 4 people grow up healthy. And the other 3 had already become homosexual, even Lin Fan had this tendency. Luckily, Lin Fan in the end still held firm. Otherwise she could only delay and wait until next year to compete with the Princess Wu Wang for the child of heaven's choice. After all, royal members cannot marry a homosexual. As of now, there are only 2 chosen ones left for next year. But no one knows whether those two remaining chosen ones will turn homosexual in the final year. Unless the empire changes the law and lowers the legal marriage age for men to 16, otherwise even the royal family cannot marry underage men. Or rather, royal family members especially cannot marry underage men. In the Great Xia Empire, every royal family member's marriage must be made public. If one were to marry an underage man, it would damage the royal family's reputation. Li Yuniao thought over and over again and still believed she couldn't give up on Lin Fan, this year's chosen one. At worst, she would just take a step back. Make a bet with Lin Fan. If Lin Fan wins, then she agrees to let all 5 daughters marry him. But if Lin Fan loses, then he can only marry one of her daughters. Li Yuniao believed that Lin Fan would probably accept such a bet, because this was his only chance. Approaching noon, Li Yuniao called the steward in. "Is lunch ready?" "Your Highness, it's almost ready." "Would you like to dine now?" the steward asked respectfully. Go call them to dine together," Li Yuniao said lightly. She was about to make a betting agreement with Lin Fan. "Your Highness, Lin Fan and the princesses." The steward hesitated. Li Yuniao's brows furrowed slightly. "What, you let Lin Fan leave?" Earlier she had instructed the steward in front of Lin Fan and the others to prepare a lavish lunch, meaning she wanted Lin Fan to stay. Did Lin Fan not get the hint? But even if Lin Fan didn't understand, the steward shouldn't have let him leave. "I wouldn't dare. It's just that the princesses and Lin Fan drank quite a lot of alcohol and got a bit drunk," the steward quickly explained. Li Yuniao had already instructed to keep Lin Fan, how could she dare let him go? Drowning his sorrows with alcohol? Li Yuniao smiled faintly, finding it a bit amusing. Was Lin Fan troubled because he couldn't marry all 5 daughters at once? "Your Highness, the princesses, they were discussing how to elope." The steward hesitated but still told Li Yuniao. As the old steward of Prince Yan's residence, she had been trained as a royal servant since childhood. She had worked in the Prince Yan's residence for over 20 years and had watched the 5 sisters grow up. You could say the 5 sisters were no different from her own daughters. But she also knew who the true master of the Prince Yan's residence was. The only will in the Prince Yan's residence was that of Li Yuniao, the Prince of Yan. In the residence, no one was greater than the prince. Elope. Li Yuniao loga. People in love really have 0 IQ. Elope? Where could they possibly run? Don't even mention leaving the country, even leaving the capital would be reported to her. There was no way her 5 precious daughters could successfully elope with Lin Fan. Li Yuniao just hadn't expected that her 5 precious daughters' feelings for Lin Fan would be this deep. They were actually willing to give up their royal status and elope with Lin Fan. Truly beauty brings disaster. Li Yuniao siga. This chosen one being too handsome was also a troublesome thing. "Are they all drunk?" Li Yuniao asked. "Lin Fan is still fairly sober and can still play the piano. But the princesses are quite drunk," the steward replied. "Playing piano, could it be one of his own songs?" Li Yuniao looked curious. She acknowledged Lin Fan's musical talent. After all, she had listened to both of those songs. They were indeed rare masterpieces. Even the so-called pop song, "If One Day I Become Very Rich," had excellent melody and core. Better than most songs on the market today. So when Li Yuniao heard Lin Fan was playing the piano, her first reaction was, did Lin Fan write a new song? It is indeed a new song he wrote. He said he had promised to give each princess a song, and now he's fulfilling that promise. "He's already singing the 3rd one," the steward said, glancing at the tablet. "Let's go take a look too." Li Yuniao got up with interest. She actually shared the same thought as Jiang Yuyan, that Lin Fan had chosen the wrong major. With such musical talent, he should have majored in music. Majoring in manga was a waste of talent. The Prince Yan's residence was large, but there were electric sightseeing carts like mini shuttles inside. So soon, Li Yuniao arrived outside the water bar. 2 attendants were standing guard at the door. "Your Highness." Should Li Yuniao motion for silence? She had already heard the piano and singing coming from inside the water bar. "Watch the sunset together, until we fall asleep. I want to hold your hand like this and never let go. Can love stay forever pure and without sorrow? I want to ride a bicycle with you. I want to watch baseball with you." Li Yuniao quietly walked into the water bar and saw Lin Fan sitting in front of the piano, his fingers dancing over the keys, body swaying with the music. The lyrics from his mouth soothed the heart, making one feel happy and sweet. Li Yuniao turned her gaze to the other side. Her 5 daughters were slumped over the sofa, all looking dreamily at Lin Fan's back, quietly listening to the song. Not a sound came from them, and they hadn't noticed her arrival. Li Yuniao didn't interrupt Lin Fan and just stood there, quietly enjoying his performance. When the song ended, Lin Fan paused for a while, then got up and walked toward the 5 sisters. "So? do you like the songs I wrote for you? Today's 4 songs, 3 were selected from Jay Chou's. No choice, he had been a Jay Chou fan in his previous life, listened to his songs the most, and Jay had the most great songs. Just letting this world experience Jay's talent. The 5 sisters were still immersed in Lin Fan's live performance, not yet back to their senses. But Li Yuniao had already started applauding. Clap 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 clap. Lin Fan, your musical talent is truly strong. I have a feeling you could become a god of music in the Great Xia Empire. Li Yuniao looked at Lin Fan with admiration. Among all the chosen ones, Lin Fan was also top tier. If appearance was included, Lin Fan was undoubtedly number 1. At this moment, Lin Fan was still a bit tipsy. Hearing Li Yuniao's words, he instinctively shook his head. I can't become a music god has to dance a god dance. Dance a god dance? Li Yuniao looked confused, not understanding what Lin Fan meant. Nothing. Lin Fan also realized this wasn't his past life's world. What I mean is, what's the use of becoming a music god if I still can't marry all 5 of your highness's daughters? Li Yuniao's lips curled slightly. I can see it, Lin Fan, you really do love my precious daughters. Of course, and they really love you too. As a prince, and as the right ancestral officer of the clan directorate, I shouldn't be the one to break royal rules, not even unwritten ones. But as a mother, I do hope my daughters can be happy, and marry the man they love. Lin Fan, I can give you a chance to marry all 5 of them at once. Li Yuniao looked at Lin Fan and said. Hearing these words, Lin Fan immediately sobered up from the alcohol. His whole body became clear-headed. What do I need to do? Let's make a bet. Bet? Lin Fan looked at Li Yuniao suspiciously. The bet Li Yuniao spoke of probably wouldn't be that easy to fulfill. That's right, a bet. Li Yuniao lightly nodded her head. What's the content of the bet? Lin Fan asked. You first choose one from my 5 precious daughters to marry. I guarantee that within 3 years, I will not promise the others to anyone else. And what you have to do is, within these 3 years, let the one you chose give birth to at least 1 boy. If you succeed, I will marry the remaining 4 daughters to you. If you fail, they will each marry someone else. Li Yuniao turned and sat down on a nearby sofa, looking at Lin Fan with cold eyes. Upon hearing this, Lin Fan thought to himself, just as expected. Li Yuniao clearly gave him an impossible task. What's the current boy birth rate in the Great Xia Empire? It's already below 10%. With such a low probability of having a boy, how could he, within 3 years, make one of the 5 sisters give birth to a boy? Even if they got pregnant right after marriage, it still takes 10 months to give birth. After giving birth, even in the case of a natural birth, at least half a year of recovery is needed before trying for a second pregnancy. Otherwise, it would cause significant harm to the wife's body. Which means, at most, she could have 2 pregnancies in 3 years. If it's a cesarean section, at least a year and a half of recovery is needed, because the uterus has an incision that must fully heal, otherwise there's great risk. 1 pregnancy takes 10 months, plus 1.5 years of recovery, that's already nearly 2.5 years, there wouldn't be enough time left for a second pregnancy. Even if the second pregnancy didn't have to be carried to term, as long as the gender could be identified, it would still be at most 2 pregnancies. Even under the best conditions, if each pregnancy is a natural birth, and ignoring the wife's health, trying for another pregnancy right after, and getting pregnant quickly. At most, only 3 pregnancies in 3 years. The probability of having a boy each time is less than 10%. And this probability doesn't stack. It's not like if you try 10 times, you're guaranteed to have a boy. If that were true, the last 4 emperors wouldn't have failed to produce a prince. You have to know, the emperor before last had over 70 daughters and still didn't have a single son. Lin Fan didn't believe he was lucky enough to get a boy in 2 pregnancies. Unless someday, the system gave him a tool that lets him choose the child's gender. Seeing Lin Fan remain silent, Li Yuniao deliberately sneered, "What, you don't dare to bet? Looks like your determination to marry my 5 daughters is just SOSO. Lin Fan remained silent, thinking hard about what choice to make. Having one of the 5 sisters give birth to a boy in 3 years, if relying only on luck, the chances were far too low. Lin Fan felt that Li Yuniao simply didn't want to marry the 5 sisters to him but wanted him as her son-in-law, so she made up an excuse to brush him off. By the time the 3 years were up, and he didn't succeed, Li Yuniao wouldn't have to marry off the other 4 daughters. It was just a delay of 3 years without marriage. Li Xiyu and the others were only 19 now. In 3 years, they'd only be 22, just graduated from college. As the daughters of the Prince of Yen, not to mention 22, even at 42, there would still be people wanting to marry them. After all, marrying into the royal family is the only way for a commoner to become nobility. If he agreed to bet with Li Yuniao, in 3 years, even if he didn't win the bet, he'd gain 3 years of development time. In 3 years, who knows how much he could grow using the system. Maybe, he could become Captain China. In that case, winning or losing the bet wouldn't even matter. By then, not to mention marrying the 5 sisters, he could even have the Empress herself marry him. But it was also possible that in 3 years, he would still be just an ordinary guy. If he lost the bet, the remaining 4 sisters would be married off to others. But if he didn't accept the bet, would Li Yuniao give up on him as her son-in-law? Mainly, Lin Fan didn't know what exactly Li Yuniao, the Prince of Yen, saw in him. Was that point important enough for her to break the royal family's unspoken rules? Lin Fan didn't speak, and Li Yuniao didn't say another word. She just silently looked into Lin Fan's eyes. She hadn't told Lin Fan about the royal family revitalization plan. That plan was a secret even within the royal family, not just any royal could know. From the time her great-grandfather started the plan until now, only the reigning emperor, and 5 people in the Directorate of Clans, the chief of the clan and the left and right clan justices, knew. All research personnel and experimenters signed top-level confidentiality agreements. If they leaked information, they'd be sentenced to life in prison. Although all test subjects in the experiment, that is, the pregnant women, had been paid and voluntarily participated, the casualty rate was still quite high. Also, because of this experiment, many fetuses died before birth, and many others couldn't grow up healthy after being born. The experiments were too cruel. The royal family couldn't let too many people know. If exposed, it would damage the royal family's reputation. The Great Xia royal family was different from other countries' royals and leaders, they still cared about saving face. Li Yuniao lifted her wrist to check the time. It was almost noon. Lin Fan, I'll give you 3 days to think. Once you've decided, give me your answer. If you agree to the bet, then choose one of my 5 daughters. I'll arrange your wedding. If you don't. Before Li Yuniao finished speaking, Lin Fan said, all right, I'll bet. But 3 years is too short. I want 5 years. If he accepted the bet, he'd gain 3 years to develop. Even if he couldn't become Captain China, he could use that time to build his own power. In 3 years, he might just be strong enough to compete with Li Yuniao, the Prince of Yen. But if he could get 2 more years, even better. Li Yuniao shook her head, just 3 years. With 5 years, based on the odds of the chosen ones having male offspring, she'd likely lose. She wouldn't take a bet like that. Seeing her refuse to budge, Lin Fan had no other choice. Fine, 3 years it is. Seeing Lin Fan agree to the bet, Li Yuniao smiled. Good, you have guts. I see your determination. Li Yuniao proposed this bet as a delaying tactic. But if Lin Fan really could have her daughter bear a boy within 3 years, then she wouldn't mind facing pressure and breaking the royal family's unwritten rules of the past decades. Even though the probability of chosen ones having sons had greatly increased, for some reason, their odds of having boys with royal family members were about half that. The daughter of the Prince of Qin married a chosen one the year before last, the daughter of the Prince of Jin last year, neither had produced a boy yet. If her daughter could give birth to a prince earlier than her second and third sister's daughters, it was worth bearing some pressure. So now, among my 5 daughters, who will you choose to marry? Li Yuniao looked at Lin Fan and asked. Lin Fan looked at the 5 sisters sitting on the sofa. Originally so drunk they were about to collapse, the 5 sisters were now all staring straight at him. They had heard everything that Li Yuniao and Lin Fan said. They also knew about the bet between Lin Fan and their mom. They knew that Lin Fan now had to choose one of them to marry. If the one chosen could give birth to a baby boy with Lin Fan within 3 years, then the remaining 4 sisters would also be able to marry Lin Fan. On the contrary, if the bet failed and the chosen one didn't give birth to a boy within 3 years, then the remaining 4 sisters would have to marry other people. They really hadn't expected that their mother would propose such a bet to Lin Fan. They had thought Lin Fan had no chance at all of marrying all 5 of them. But unexpectedly, their mother had given such an opportunity. Even though the chance was extremely slim, it was still a ray of hope. And now, all they wanted to know was, who would Lin Fan choose as his first wife? Lin Fan walked in front of the 5 sisters, his gaze meeting each of theirs in turn. But after looking at all of them, he still couldn't make a decision. He really couldn't choose. No matter whom he chose, he would hurt the other 4 sisters. The 5 sisters looked at Lin Fan, their eyes were all a bit hazy. They had only managed to perk up after hearing Lin Fan and their mother's bet, but the alcohol in their bodies was not that easy to dissipate. Husband, pick big sister. Her but is the biggest, easier for childbirth. Maybe the first baby will be a boy. Li Xiling said and then lowered her head, lightly biting her lip. She really wanted to marry Lin Fan and be his wife. But she also knew that over the past period, her other sisters had also fallen for Lin Fan. After all, Lin Fan was so handsome and so talented, not many women could resist his charm. If there was no chance for the five of them to marry Lin Fan together, then she might still persuade herself to compete with her sisters. But now, their mother had given Lin Fan a chance, which was also a chance for the five of them. As long as one could give birth to a boy within 3 years, the sisters could stay together for life. Naturally, the first choice should be the one with the best fertility. Big sister loved sports the most and had the roundest butt. If Lin Fan chose her, maybe she really could have a baby boy within 3 years. Li Siyu glanced at her fourth sister with a complicated expression. If her younger sister could make such a humble suggestion, how could she, the elder sister, have the nerve to fight? Baby, then pick Sijin. Her but isn't small either. And with her personality, if you don't pick her, she might never get married. Li Siyu Zhuka. What nonsense are you talking about? I have tons of suitors. Li Sijin immediately flared up. She was proud and Sundra by nature. For Li Siyu to say that about her and she didn't explode, that was already sisterly love. I also think big sister or second sister would be best, Li Sishi said, wearing headphones around her neck. Big sister and second sister were in the best physical shape. After giving birth to the first child, they could quickly prepare for a second. As for the younger 3 sisters, postpartum recovery would take much longer. Better pick big sister or second sister, Li Xiao nodded in agreement. Among the 5 sisters, she had the worst physical condition. As a child, she was sick the most. Lin Fan's mouth twitched. The pelvis size of the 5 sisters was the same. Their fertility levels were about the same. Having more muscle might help slightly with smoother delivery, but it couldn't determine the baby's gender. In the end, it still came down to luck. Since it's all luck anyway, then let luck decide. Lin Fan picked up the dice cup from the coffee table, took out a die. I really can't decide. So I'll leave it up to fate. You 5 sisters are numbers 1 to 5. If I roll a 6, I'll roll again, Lin Fan said. The 5 sisters thought for a moment and nodded one after another. They could all accept this method. No need to fight among themselves, just leave it all to fate. And it wouldn't make things hard for Lin Fan. This method was pretty good. Li Yunyao silently watched from the side. She didn't really care which daughter Lin Fan picked. As long as it was her daughter, that was fine. The one Lin Fan chose would become the heir daughter. After she passed away, the heir daughter would inherit her title, of course, downgraded by 1 level. She would also inherit all of her assets. The other daughters, when they got married, would have their noble ranks reduced by 2 levels. They wouldn't have inheritance rights, but she would prepare generous dowries for them at their weddings. Lin Fan held the die in his hand. Then, here we go. Lin Fan casually tossed the die. It spun on the coffee table. After a dozen seconds, the side with 6 dots faced up. Lin Fan picked up the die and threw it again. Another dozen seconds, again, 6 dots. The 5 sisters looked at each other. What did this mean? Was heaven telling Lin Fan not to choose any of them, or to choose all of them at once? Lin Fan threw the die 3 more times. Each time it landed on 6. Smack. Lin Fan raised his hand and slapped the back of his own hand. Others didn't know, but he knew, he hadn't been able to decide, and subconsciously manipulated the dice roll. After all, his hands were magical. Controlling dice rolls was child's play. It was as natural as breathing or drinking water. Even Li Yunyao was stunned. Rolling a 6 5 times in a row? That was too strange. Prince Yen, why don't you roll? Whichever you choose will be best, as their mother. Lin Fan handed the die to Li Yunyao, who was sitting on the sofa. If he kept rolling himself, he might never get a result today. All right, I'll roll. Li Yunyao took the die and tossed it, not very confidently. She was worried, what if she rolled a 6 too? If she really rolled it, she might start to wonder if heaven truly wanted her to marry off all 5 daughters to Lin Fan. A few seconds later, the result came out. Not a 6, but a 4. The result was Li Xiling. Lin Fan looked at Li Xiling. She had been chosen. No wonder, she was the one who had already been intimate with him. Their bond was naturally deeper. Even though she had been picked, Li Xiling didn't know how to face her sisters. It felt like she had done something wrong to them. You little brat. You got picked and still act like this. Li Siyu slapped Li Xiling's back. You should be happy. You girl. You better work hard to give birth to a baby boy. Dining room. Only Lin Fan and Li Yunyao were sitting at the dining table. The 5 sisters, who had already drunk quite a bit, all passed out after a wave of excitement. In the end, only Lin Fan, who had a better alcohol tolerance, was still able to accompany Li Yunyao, his future mother-in-law, for a meal. To be fair, dining at the Prince Yan's residence felt just like eating at a high-end restaurant. Whether the food tasted good, Lin Fan didn't know yet, but the plating was truly exquisite. Even a cold dish of cucumbers was carved into the shape of a dragon. There were 4 cold dishes: a plate of cucumbers, a plate of bamboo shoots, a plate of duck feet, or maybe goose feet, and a plate of shrimp with fermented tofu. He couldn't name any of the cold dishes, only recognized the main ingredients in each one. There were 8 hot dishes: shark fin, abalone, duck, lion's head meatball, wensi tofu, squirrel fish, longjing shrimp, and Buddha jumps over the wall. Among the 8 hot dishes, he could actually name a few. Lin Fan took a sip of the soup from the Buddha jumps over the wall. It was damn fresh. Then there were 4 dim sum dishes: shumai, spring rolls, steamed buns, and 1,000-layer cake. Compared to the rest, the dim sum looked rather ordinary. Counting the 5 sisters already lying down, 7 people, 16 dishes. He didn't know if this was the usual spread at the Prince Yan's residence or if they had prepared something special because of his arrival. Lin Fan guessed it was probably their regular standard, and maybe a few extra dishes were added for him. Not to mention the other dishes, but for Buddha jumps over the wall to be made properly, it takes at least 5 to 6 hours of stewing. And that's just the stewing time. Some dried ingredients may take even longer to soak. And Li Yunyao had only said around 9 or 10 in the morning to prepare a more lavish lunch. So, at most, they only added 2 dishes just for him. Life in the Prince Yan's residence was really something. Lin Fan, since you've already chosen Xiling, then next comes the wedding. The Directorate of Clans will pick an auspicious date. Once it's decided, I'll notify you. Royal family weddings have fixed ceremonies, you don't need to make separate preparations. You should be aware of this. Lin Fan nodded. Yes, I know. Modern ordinary people generally have 2 types of weddings, a Western-style one with wedding gowns, or a traditional daxia-style wedding. But for members of the daxia royal family, wedding ceremonies could only be in the traditional daxia style. Western-style weddings had never happened. Also, the ceremonial standards differed according to rank. The emperor's wedding naturally had the highest standard. Next was the crown prince, then imperial princes, royal princes, heirs, etc. Lin Fan liked the daxia-style wedding better. He didn't like Western weddings. On such a joyous day, red was more festive. After you marry Xiling, she'll be granted the title of Shainu, heir daughter, so the wedding standard will follow that rank. I'll have someone explain the wedding process and guide you. Your Highness, granting Xiling the title of Shainu? Shouldn't that be Siyu? Lin Fan interrupted. In the daxia royal family, isn't it normally eldest inherits, not the youngest? By seniority, Li Siyu should be the heir daughter. When he first dated the 5 sisters, that's what they told him too. If he married the eldest, Li Siyu, then he'd become a Junwang, commandery prince, in the future. If he married any of the younger sisters, he'd become a duke. Why was the 4th sister now becoming the heir? The heir was supposed to inherit Li Yunyao's title. That's the usual case, but there are exceptions, and this is one of them, Li Yunyao explained vaguely. Only by marrying a chosen one was there a high chance of having a male child. Only then could the title be passed down without being downgraded. The 2nd sister, Prince Qin, and 3rd sister, Prince Jin, both arranged their eldest daughters to marry a chosen one, so there was no issue. But her case was different. The 5 sisters were quintuplets, there was only a few minutes difference before and after the C-section. They were practically the same age. And now Lin Fan didn't choose the eldest Siyu, but the 4th Xiling. To preserve her family's royal identity for a longer time, she could only grant Xiling the title of heir daughter. In daxia's history, even the crown prince had been someone who wasn't the legitimate son before, so the heir daughter didn't have to be the eldest daughter either. Lin Fan's mind flashed with a thought. A special situation? Could this special situation be because of marrying him? Whoever he married would become the heir daughter? Was he really that important? For the wedding, you'll need to invite your friends and family. When the time comes, give me a guest list. Okay. Lin Fan nodded. He was an orphan, raised in an orphanage. From childhood to adulthood, no relative had ever visited him. So there were definitely no relatives to invite. But he still had to invite a few friends. Otherwise, if not a single friend showed up at his wedding, how bad would that look? During the meal, Li Yunyao and Lin Fan discussed a lot, mostly about wedding arrangements. By the end, Li Yunyao suddenly changed the topic. Lin Fan, have you ever thought about switching to a music major? Huh? Lin Fan was stunned. They were talking about the wedding. Why bring up changing majors now? You have great musical talent. Systematic study can help develop your gift and potential better and faster. Your current manga major kind of buries your musical talent. If you want to switch majors, I can arrange it, Li Yunyao said. No need to trouble your highness. I'm just interested in music, manga is my passion, Lin Fan said with an awkward smile, repeating the excuse he gave to Jiang Yuyan. Musical talent? He didn't have any. He only had memories from his past life. If anything, the most he had was a pop star level singing voice. But that didn't require switching to a music major. Alright. As long as you're happy. If you ever want to change, just let me know anytime. Li Yunyao didn't force it. If Lin Fan could reach the top of some field, that'd be great. But if not, it didn't matter. For the Prince Yan's residence, it would just be icing on the cake. But, you're still calling me, Your Highness? Li Yunyao looked directly at Lin Fan. Mom? Lin Fan tried. The corners of Li Yunyao's mouth lifted slightly. You and Xiling will be married soon. You should start getting used to it. Li Yunyao looked at her watch. Alright, it's getting late. I still have a lot of things to deal with. The rest of the time is yours. With that, Li Yunyao got up and left. As the Prince of Yen, she was very busy. There were many matters that required her attention. After Li Yunyao left, Lin Fan also returned to the water bar to check on the 5 sisters. Because they had drunk quite a bit, the 5 sisters were all lying on the sofa, sleeping soundly. Lin Fan called out to them, but none of them responded. There was no one else in the water bar. An evil thought arose in Lin Fan's heart, and he, secretly, kissed each one of them on the lips. Although he had already kissed each of the 5 sisters before, those were separate instances. He had never kissed all 5 at once like this. And doing it secretly made it even more thrilling. After kissing each one, Lin Fan finally left the water bar. Outside the door, 2 female attendants were still standing guard. Take good care of the princesses, watch the temperature, don't let them catch cold. As he left, Lin Fan instructed. Please rest assured, this is our duty. The 2 attendants bowed slightly. Just as Lin Fan was about to leave, one of them asked, Mr. Lin Fan, are you leaving now? Would you like us to arrange a car to take you? Sure, arrange one. Lin Fan thought for a moment and nodded. Originally, he planned to just grab a taxi back to school. After all, the Prince Yan's residence was located within the Second Ring Road, right in the center of the capital. It was still quite easy to hail a cab here. But since the attendant offered, he was too lazy to bother. Anyway, there were plenty of cars in the Prince Yan's residence. The 5 sisters alone each had several cars. Just as Lin Fan stepped out the main gate, a business car was already waiting at the entrance. A female driver in a black suit and white gloves stood beside the passenger seat. Seeing him arrive, the driver immediately opened the rear car door. After Lin Fan got in, she closed the door, then returned to the driver's seat. Mr. Lin Fan, where to? To Starshine Entertainment. He had originally intended to say school, but then suddenly remembered that he had written songs for the other 4 sisters today too. And since he had time in the afternoon, he figured he might as well go to the company and record the songs. Let the fans have a treat early. Understood. The driver replied and started the car without even turning on the GPS. To be honest, the drivers in the Yen royal household really were top-notch. Whether it was the sisters' drivers or this female driver, they all drove very steadily. Sitting in the car, you couldn't feel any shaking at all. There were no sudden starts or stops. Unlike taxis or rideshares, where the gas and brakes were slammed hard. Even without GPS, the driver clearly knew the roads well and drove straight to Starshine Entertainment without any detours. When parking, the driver even wanted to get out to open the door for Lin Fan, but he stopped her. Opening the door himself was easy, no need for the driver to get out and do it for him. At Starshine Entertainment, Wu Xiaohe was already waiting at the company entrance. Seeing Lin Fan, assistant Wu Xiaohe immediately stepped forward. Mr. Lin Fan. Is the recording studio ready? Lin Fan asked. Wu Xiaohe nodded at once, all set. Mr. Lin Fan, please follow me. There were only 2 recording studios inside Starshine Entertainment, not a lot. Although 2 groups were also scheduled to record today, one was a trainee group, and the other had just debuted, a rookie group whose popularity couldn't compare to Lin Fan at all. Since Lin Fan needed to record, they naturally gave way. Wu Xiaohe directly coordinated to delay the trainee group session and prioritized Lin Fan's. Xiaohe, don't call me Mr., just use my name. In the entertainment industry, everyone gets called teacher or Mr., it made the title lose meaning. That wouldn't be proper, just calling your name is rude. Wu Xiaohe shook her head quickly. Isn't it normal for friends to use names? You're my assistant and will be following me long term. If you keep calling me Mr. every day, it sounds weird, Lin Fan said while walking. If it were a stranger saying it now and then, it'd be fine, but Wu Xiaohe was his assistant, working closely with him. Hearing Mr. all the time was awkward. Well, okay. Then I'll call you Lin Fan from now on. But if President Jiang hears me, you'll have to explain for me, Wu Xiaohe joked. Don't worry, just say I told you to. Soon, they arrived at the company's recording studio. The trainee group had just come out of the booth and hadn't left yet. When they saw Lin Fan, they immediately got excited and surrounded him. Mr. Lin Fan, you actually came back to the company. Senior Lin Fan. You're my idol, can I take a photo with you? Mr. Lin Fan, are you the one using the studio next? Is it a new song again? 8 young, pretty girls surrounded Lin Fan, chattering nonstop. Lin Fan felt like 10,000 ducks were quacking around him. Too noisy. Stop, stop. Quiet. Lin Fan shouted, holding his head. Even during military training with the girls in his class, it wasn't this noisy. Maybe because that was outdoors? Wait, what if during class in the future, the girls were just as noisy as these trainees? After Lin Fan shouted, the girls finally quieted down. Those who want a photo, let's take one together. As soon as Lin Fan said that, the 8 girl group members crowded next to him, several of them scrambling for the center spot. Lin Fan didn't bother managing it. He pulled out his foldable phone, unlocked it, and handed it to assistant Wu Xiaohe. Xiaohe, help us take a group photo. Sure. Wu Xiaohe took the phone and aimed the camera at Lin Fan and the others. Cheese. Click. The photo was taken, and Wu Xiaohe handed the phone back to Lin Fan. You all brought your phones, right? Add me as a friend, I'll send you the photo later. Lin Fan opened his WeChat QR code. No one in a girl group could be called unattractive. Lin Fan didn't even bother checking their info with the system, there was no need. Brought it. Brought it. All 8 girl group members pulled out their phones to scan Lin Fan's QR code and add him. Alright, go back to work now. I've got things to do too. I'll send you the photo when I'm done. Mr. Lin Fan, then we won't bother you anymore. Goodbye, Mr. Lin Fan. Goodbye, Senior Lin Fan. The 8 girl group members all bowed to Lin Fan, then turned and left. Huh? Lin Fan made a light noise. He just suddenly realized that among those 8 girl group members, one of them looked familiar. Lin Fan, what's wrong? Wu Xiaohe looked at him curiously. Nothing, Lin Fan shook his head and stepped into the recording booth. Whatever, since they were in the same company, if she really was someone he knew, they'd meet again sooner or later. Let's record the song first. Lin Fan's speed at recording songs was as fast as always. After confirming the arrangement, with his pop star level voice, every song was done in one take. Just to be safe, he would record one more backup take. After the songs were recorded, the remaining work no longer required Lin Fan. Once the songs were finished, the company would send the final version to him for confirmation. Only after he confirmed would they be released on major music platforms. While he was recording, Wu Xiaohe had already contacted Lin Fan's 2 bodyguards to come to the company. After recording, the bodyguards drove him back to school in the nanny van arranged by the company. On the way back to school, Lin Fan suddenly remembered he hadn't sent the photo he took earlier in the afternoon with the girl group members at the company. So he pulled out his phone, opened WeChat, and got ready to accept the 8 pending friend requests and send them the group photo. Sure enough, in the new friend requests, there were 8. Each one had a beautiful woman as their profile photo, though he wasn't sure if those were actually their real pictures. Each had noted their name in the remark. H2 Hinsan, H2 Sui, H2 Gao Suefang, H2 Conchimin. H2 Oyang Chayue. H2O was the name of that 8-member girl group. Probably to avoid being mistaken as spam friend requests, all the girl group members had added their group's name before their actual names. Huh? Yang Chayue? That name sounded very similar to a certain Lucky Koi from his previous life. With a name like that, her luck probably wouldn't be too bad. She might be carrying some natural luck. Lin Fan had a feeling that this H2O girl group's most likely breakout star was probably this Yang Chaoyue. He accepted all 8 friend requests one by one. Then he opened his photo album, found the group photo taken earlier at the company, and prepared to send it to all 8 at once. Wait. Lin Fan tapped the photo, just about to hit send and mass send to the 8 new friends. His finger hovered just above the send button. Because Lin Fan realized that among the 8 young girls in the photo, there really was one face that looked very familiar. She looked 80% like the lucky girl from his previous life. No way. Lin Fan immediately returned to the WeChat screen, opened the profile of that user named Yang Chaoyue, and her profile photo was indeed that familiar face from the group picture. Different world, more than 100 years apart, yet he could still meet someone who looked like someone from his previous life? So this world wasn't completely unrelated to his past life, it was a parallel universe? In countless parallel universes, there are countless versions of you, each living a different life? Lin Fan went back to the photo album, selected the photo, sent it through WeChat, selected all 8, and sent it to the group. He then sent a separate message to Yang Chaoyue. Yang Chaoyue, good luck. I believe in you. Comparing the 8 girls in the photo, though all of them were beautiful, the one with the highest visual appeal was definitely this Xiao Yang. Plus, since she looked so much like the lucky girl from his past life, Lin Fan naturally had the strongest impression and goodwill toward her. If there's a chance, he wouldn't mind giving her a helping hand. Another thing Lin Fan was curious about, if this world had someone who looked like the lucky girl from his past life, could there be others who looked like other people he knew? Like the Celestial Beauty, or Zixia? If they did exist, that would be quite interesting. Of course, Lin Fan wouldn't force anything. If he happened to meet them, that would be great, having someone around who reminded him of his past life would make life more fun. If not, that was fine too, his life in this world wouldn't be ordinary either. Maybe the 8 girl trainees were still practicing, none of them had replied to his message yet. Back at school, Lin Fan continued drawing his unfinished comic Your Name. It was almost done. He was aiming to finish it within the next day or two. As for the wedding? Well, Li Yuniao had already said there wasn't much he needed to worry about. The royal family had its own wedding procedures, his own preparations would just be redundant. At most, when the date was finalized, he'd just need to decorate the imperial house allocated to him, even though he had barely stayed there. It was a wedding, after all, the house should look festive. He had eaten a lot at lunch, so Lin Fan didn't plan to eat dinner. In fact, he was going to run a few laps at the track in the evening to burn off the luxurious meal from lunch. At 8 p.m., Lin Fan arrived at the school track to run. Not long after he started running, a beautiful girl caught up to him. Lin Fan, it really is you. I thought I was seeing things. It was Chen Fengzheng, his running partner from before. They used to run together almost every morning. Chen Fengzheng had witnessed his physical improvement. At first, Lin Fan could only run 5 laps, then walk 1 more to finish his run. Later he added a lap every few days. Now he could run 9 laps and walk 1 more for cool down. Xiao Fengzheng? You run at night too? Lin Fan was surprised. He thought she only did morning runs. I gain weight too easily. To keep my figure, I have to exercise more. Chen Fengzheng sighed. Lin Fan glanced at her figure, curvy and well-proportioned. Many girls would be jealous of that. This was easily gaining weight? But you, I've never seen you run at night before. Why today? Don't tell me you think you're losing weight too slowly and want to speed it up? If so, I'd advise you not to push too hard. You've already lost a lot. Losing too fast isn't good for your health, Chen Fengzheng kindly reminded him. No, I'm happy with my current pace. I just ate too much at lunch today, so I wanted to burn some off, Lin Fan explained. I see. Then I'll keep you company. Sure, nice to have a running buddy. The two of them ran together on the track. After 10 laps, Lin Fan ended his night run. 10 laps was already his limit. Back at the dorm, he took a shower and continued finishing the last bit of his comic. At 11:30 p.m., Lin Fan put down his stylus and stretched widely. After so many days of effort, his first comic was finally finished. Once it was done, Lin Fan began choosing a publishing platform. In the Great Xia Empire, comics were published both online and offline. If you were a complete unknown, online was the best way to gain visibility. Once readers got hooked by the free chapters, they'd pay for the rest. Famous artists could choose to publish offline, or release both online and offline simultaneously. In the comic world, Lin Fan was a total rookie. But now he had nearly 10 million followers on Douyin. So technically, he could publish offline right away too. But after thinking it over, Lin Fan decided to go with online publishing. This first comic was meant to show everyone that he had as much talent in comics as he did in music. So, he chose to publish it simultaneously on several major comic platforms, and without signing any exclusive deals, allowing everyone to read it for free. Without a contract, all the copyrights would remain in his hands. After publishing, Lin Fan uploaded a new video to his Douyin account. Spent half a month, my first comic is finally complete. Interested forest keepers can check it out on the major platforms. After finishing all that, Lin Fan climbed into bed with his phone, opened his private messages, and lay there reading the messages fans had sent him. Lin Fan Gij, from today on I'm officially a forest keeper. I'll protect you for life. Lin Fan Gij, you're so unprofessional. The re-recorded high-quality music is already released on the platform, and you didn't even announce it. Because of that, I missed it and didn't get to hear it first. I'm Mel. You have to call me baby to calm me down. Seeing this message, Lin Fan laughed in exasperation. What a reversal, this fan was actually reminding him to be more professional. But speaking of that, he really hadn't promoted the re-recorded versions of unnecessary explanation and if one day I become very rich. His own songs, and yet he hadn't even cared enough to announce them, definitely a bit careless. But oh well, it was too late now. The songs were already up on the music platforms, promoting them again would just be redundant. He'd do better to promote the 4 new songs when they get released. Looking forward to Lin Fan Gij's new songs. Lin Fan Didi, do you have any plans for a concert? Big sis wants to cheer for you. Lin Fan baby. Mommy loves you. Photo. After reading fan messages for over 10 minutes, Lin Fan finally exited Douyin. Now Lin Fan truly understood the saying, in a big forest, you'll find all kinds of birds. As his fanbase grew, it really did include all types. The more normal fans simply expressed their love in DMs, saying, I love you, and the like. The more extreme ones would send somewhat revealing selfies. And the most inappropriate ones? Sent pictures that couldn't even be opened in public. If the sender looked good and had a nice figure, that was fine, he'd just see it as art. After all, he was over 18 and legally an adult who could marry, nothing to be shy about. But some who had zero self-awareness also sent such indecent photos, no shame at all. Lin Fan accidentally clicked on one and nearly threw up. Thank goodness he hadn't eaten dinner, or he wouldn't have been able to hold it in. Without hesitation, Lin Fan reported the user. After closing Douyin, he opened WeChat. There were quite a few messages there too. Since evening, his phone had been vibrating from time to time with incoming messages. But he had been working and hadn't checked. Entering WeChat, the top pinned chat was the group with the 5 sisters. Wife number 1, Li see you baby, hurry up and sleep with 4th sis. Have a baby boy soon so you can marry all of us sooner. Wife number 3, Li see she baby, hurry up and sleep with 4th sis. Have a baby boy soon so you can marry all of us sooner. Wife number 5, Li see Yao baby, hurry up. Wife number 2, Li see Jean baby, hurry up. They were all acting like copy-paste bots, making the usually cheerful and outgoing Li Xiling feel awkward. Wife number 4, Li Xiling you all shut up. Wife number 1, Li see you knew it, you've got a husband and now you don't care about your sisters anymore. Wife number 3, Li see she knew it, you've got a husband and now you don't care about your sisters anymore. Wife number 5, Li Xiao knew it, you've got a husband. Wife number 2, Li Si Jin knew it, you've got a husband. Wife number 4, Li Xiling, I'm done. Let the world burn. The last message was sent after 10 p.m. It was now past midnight, so Lin Fan didn't reply. Exiting the group chat, he saw that the members of H2O had also sent messages after receiving the photo, greeting him. Lin Fan Laosher. I'll treasure this photo forever. Lin Fan Laosher. I heard you recorded 4 songs today, so amazing. We haven't even finished one. Lin Fan Laosher, if you ever have time, could you give me some vocal coaching? Yang Chaoyue, Lin Fan Laosher, please don't joke, I'm not good at anything. Whether it's singing or dancing, I'm the worst in the group. I don't even have confidence in myself. But thank you for your encouragement. Even though I know I'll never be famous, I'll still do my best. The company provides food and housing, and a monthly stipend of 4,000 yuan. I have to work hard to keep this job. Oops, I said too much, hope I didn't bother you. It's late. I have to get up early for training tomorrow, so I'm going to bed now. Lastly, thank you again for your encouragement. Also, I really love your song if one day I become very rich. I hope you keep getting more and more popular. The message was sent around 11 p.m. Clearly, the life of a trainee was tiring. But then again, what job wasn't tiring in this world? Ordinary people without connections had it tough no matter what they did. Especially women, they had it far harder than men. In this world, men were born with access to all sorts of social benefits far beyond what women received. And where did those benefits come from? Mostly from the taxes paid by hardworking women. That's why so many women in this world desperately wanted to marry a man. Because once married to a man, they could enjoy a portion of those benefits. Not as much